Hey everybody, welcome back to another very exciting Adobe MAX. I am your host, Jesús Ramirez, and with me today is the amazing Corey Hall. Hey Corey, how's it going? Good to have you.
Going really good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, today, from what I understand today, you're going to talk about creating social media templates for Adobe MAX using Illustrator and Adobe Express.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is correct. So, one of my favorite things to do for social media is creating little templates, little frames, PNG files, maybe little GIFs that I use in my Instagram stories. And it's really fun and super easy because you can make them on your computer or you can make them in Express. And then you send them over to your phone, copy and paste them from your camera roll, you drop them into an Instagram story, and it's just a really cool way to kind of customize the look and feel of the content that you're posting. And so we're gonna start in Illustrator and use a couple of my favorite features in Illustrator, some 3D effects, a little bit of like inflate effects, make some interesting looking cool graphics, and we're going to take those over into Express, and like I said, we'll either export them as PNGs to use on our phones and Instagram stories, maybe we'll play around with some GIFs and some video animations.
We're doing it all today.
We're doing it all. We're doing it all.
Fantastic.
And as usual, I'm being very, I would say, optimistic about how much I'm going to get done. So we'll see how much we get done today, but I'm very excited, and we're going to enjoy the journey today.
Fabulous. Also, I just want to say hello to the chat. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see Roy, Cody Bear, Oliver. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I see people from England, from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yep.
I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Kansas City, Missouri now. You are in Portland, Oregon?
I am in Portland, Oregon, but I am also from the Bay Area.
Oh, where are you from?
Yep, I grew up in Palo Alto.
Palo Alto,
and
Alameda.
Yep, I was living in San Francisco before I moved to Portland, and so it feels good to be back.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a graphic designer. I've been graphic designing for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. So here's my website, CoreyAllenHall.com, if you just want to see some of the projects that I've worked on. Like it all says, I am a graphic designer. I actually work full-time at Stanford University, and so I do a lot of brand, content, editorial, just all sorts of design for them, and do a lot of stuff, work with Adobe, educational work on the side, which is awesome because it's just like really fun to work with you guys and interact with the chat. I'm happy to see Ray, familiar faces, Oliver, always good to see you, Cody Bear, of course, Wade. And so, yeah, I've been designing now for, like I said, almost 10 years, and I've done all sorts of things, Instagram stuff, a lot of content design, face filters. I don't know if you remember those being a thing. They're not really around anymore. But this was a really fun project to do, and also a total pain in the butt. It was so hard to learn how to use like Meta's face filter studio thing. Instagram carousels, editorial illustrations, podcast branding, just all sorts of stuff.
Again, you've done it all.
I've done it all. And later today, I'm going to be streaming a couple times today, but later today we're going to be doing more Illustrator work, and this time kind of focusing on how to create files for risograph printing.
Wow.
And so I do really like working on the computer a lot, but I also love doing things with my hands and like printing out projects and cutting things, postcards and stuff. And so we'll get more into that later. That'll be at noon today.
Fabulous. All right. So do you want to get started on the...
Yeah. So let's get started. Before we do,
right.
So we've got Adobe MAX is coming up. It is online and in person.
Yes.
It is in Florida. There is a hurricane currently in Florida, so obviously hoping that everyone stays super safe there. And as of right now, Adobe MAX is still scheduled to go on, keeping fingers crossed that everything stays in a way that it is able to proceed. But today, in today's live stream, we're going to be going over how to create some cool stuff for Adobe MAX. And so before we do that, I just thought it would be kind of cool to look at some of the sessions. I didn't really say the dates. October 12th and 13th, pre-conference, 14-16, Miami Beach and online. So you would have to pay to go to Miami Beach, but it's completely free for everyone to attend online, which is super cool. And there are so many sessions. So if you go to max.adobe.com, You can check out all the information, all the guest speakers. I saw Aquafina's going to be there, which is like totally cool. She's awesome. But yeah, choose from 200 plus in-person and online sessions, which is awesome. I was looking at some of these 3D ones earlier, and we're going to be doing some 3D work in Illustrator today. And so this is like kind of an interest of mine, and it's just sort of fun to play around with. Isis says, hello from Miami. We're safe and sunny today. Okay, well, that's really good to hear.
That sounds really good, yeah.
I'm glad, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on social media of people, you know, planning for evacuations and trying to get out of their neighborhoods, and so I'm glad everyone's staying safe. So anyway, yeah, there's just like so much design, education and design. Wait, did I read that correctly? Creativity and design in business. So that's really big. I mean, a lot of us creatives are like
business owners.
Business owners, entrepreneurs, I know that I am. So there's just a ton of really cool stuff to kind of add to your calendar.
Yeah. And let us know in the chat if you're going to be there in Miami. It'd be great to see you guys if you are there.
Yeah, because you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there, yeah. I think I'm teaching 7 classes there, so I'll see you there.
Okay.
One of those 7, I hope.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's probably a fair amount of live streamers who the community has seen over the years on the internet that are going to be there, so that's really cool. I saw Andrew's
definitely going to be there, yeah.
In the schedule, so excuse me while I sip my tea. So yeah, let's see. Ray's
watching online. Yeah.
Watching online.
Awesome.
I will definitely be watching online. Every year there's always, it's just cool to like see all of the new features and kind of get some new inspiration and learn how to do some cool new things.
Isis will be there with their team, and that's pretty cool.
Hi from New Zealand. Awesome. Kane, any compositing classes? I don't know.
At Max, yes. I'm teaching 3 compositing classes at Max. Yeah.
There you go. There you have it.
And I'm sure there's more, not to say that I'm the only one. That's the only ones I know for sure.
Okay, wait. So can you tell me what is a compositing class? Because I don't know what that means.
Compositing class. Sure. Basically putting multiple images together to make it seem like one photo.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, online, one of the things that I do is create TV and movie posters professionally. So all my compositing class are in the context of creating a movie poster or TV poster.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Joella. Joella says they watch my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel called the Photoshop Training Channel where I teach, surprisingly enough, Photoshop. Okay,
it's right there in the name.
It's right there in the name. But yeah, thank you so much for watching.
And thanks everyone for watching today. We're really happy to have you here. If there's anything that you want to see me work on or talk about in particular, I am more than open. And I don't know if you've ever created like social media templates for Instagram, and there's like a specific type of template that you like to create or that you're interested in seeing me create. Like I said, I've made like a lot of frames and stuff for Instagram. It's really fun to kind of play around with and see what you can, I don't know, what you can do. It's cool to like make something on your computer and then, I don't know, copy and paste it over to your phone and have it come alive in a different sort of way. So I have kind of a vision that I'm working off of here, so we're just gonna get right into it. But like I said, I'm thinking about just sort of how I can create little graphics that I can either animate in Express or just use as static stickers that then I can drop into images or drop onto my phone and copy and paste into like Instagram stories and stuff. And so that's sort of what we're getting started with today. And like I said, I have a vision. The vision is it will slowly come to life. But I'm kind of thinking for starters, having like a little sticker, Adobe MAX sticker that I can just kind of animate the text coming in and out of. And then that can sort of serve as a GIF or a little sticker that is consistent throughout a lot of the content that you would be posting if you were there. I don't know, do you ever create like custom things for your social?
I should probably better with my socials. I used to, but all I really do on my social now is just post 1-minute tutorials on Reels, Shorts, that kind of stuff, TikToks. But yeah, I rarely do images anymore. It's mostly the short video content now.
Yeah, that's so real. I mean, Instagram is so like, it has completely transformed like what people use it for.
Right.
And the sort of image-based original Instagram feels like it's long gone.
Yeah.
in favor of the short form content.
Yeah. Thank you, TikTok.
Thanks, TikTok. I know. I'm like resentfully thank you, TikTok, I suppose. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like I said, I'm trying to have fun with some of my typography and letter shapes. So I did a live stream a really long time ago, or a live stream kind of like series, if you will, called Teaching Typography. And in it, I talked a lot about just like having fun with your type and trying to like do cool effects, play around with things, make things feel a little bit like different and unique. And that's really what I find as a designer is like what makes type and branding stand out is using little techniques and tweaks to help your projects really stand out as being different. It's really easy to just like set some type, but it's, what really, really helps a brand stand out is when you then like add a little bit of extra customization, and it looks a little kooky sometimes, but just kind of gotta roll with it. And so that's a little bit what we're doing today. Boop, boop, boop.
Joella's saying, I always learn so much by watching you all work, and you're rocking good postures. I feel like I'm just leaning forward.
Okay.
But yeah,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I'll keep up a good posture.
I honestly don't feel like I have good posture most of the time, but maybe it's just because we're here and we're focused.
Well, I immediately looked at you, Corey, because I was like, clearly they're not talking about me. I was like,
no, I'm like hunched over my computer like this right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it's me. But thank you, Joella, for saying that.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to be conscious about it the whole stream.
I know. I'm like, oh, okay, if you say so. Again, just kind of like customizing some of my typography, adding a little bit of movement. I don't really know. I mean, I think it's just like cool to kind of take my little anchor points and push them around.
Like Bob Ross used to say, make happy accidents.
Exactly. Well, and that's kind of what I find too, is if I go in with too much of a plan, then I end up, I don't know, I either kind of like get stuck somewhere or I get in my head about whatever it is that I'm creating. And so, it's good to have a general idea. It's like really useful to create mood boards, things like that, especially if you're working for clients. Like they want to know that you are, you've got a vision, right? With how you're spending their money on your time. But for the most part, I'm like, when I'm working for myself, it is just kind of fun to go with the flow and see just kind of what we can do.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and let us know if you have any questions in the chat. We'd be happy to answer them. If you have any questions about, I don't know, a keyboard shortcut or anything that you see Corey do, menu, anything, let us know.
Yeah, I rely really heavily on my keyboard shortcuts, like especially even just like toggling in between screens. It's just pretty essential to my workflow, honestly, and working efficiently and quickly. And yeah, you'll probably see me do a lot of things that are like keyboard shortcuts that are kind of like difficult to catch. So yeah, if you have any questions about anything or about any of the typography that we're using, where to find typography inspiration, I get a lot of inspiration from Adobe Fonts is like a really, really helpful place to go to look for new typefaces, especially because they have all those collections and stuff. Oh, favorite keyboard shortcut? I absolutely do. I work on a Mac, and I use Command Tab like nobody's business. And that is just like essential for me for like, okay, what's the mood board look like? Switch back and forth. Okay, copying and paste something, pop it on over to a new window. What's yours?
Save.
Save? Oh,
yeah,
good reminder. Hold on.
I've had some horror stories, so it's embedded into my brain.
Adobe MAX.
Yeah. Like
Save.
it's just it's an instinct now. I'm working and I instantly just go save. Like every couple seconds, just because I've had some horror stories where I lost hours worth of work.
Yeah.
For not saving.
That's actually kind of wild because I think that I used to be better about it, and I'm really I don't know. I'm not as like particular about doing that anymore, and I really should be. Especially because my computer's like getting a little slower. I could tell it's like starting to get a little older, and I'm like, okay.
By the way, shout outs to Andrew Kevin in the chat. He says, see you at Max soon. I plan to attend your movie poster classes. Thank you so much, Andrew. See you there, my friend. Andrew Kavanaugh, who runs the Photoshop and Lightroom group on Facebook. Check him out. Barbara grew up in Berkeley. Yeah.
Barbara? Is it Barbara in the chat?
Barbara Dean Aliaga?
Okay. There's a... Hi, Barbara. I'm excited to see you, but there's also another Barbara who comes to my live streams a lot, and we're besties. And I thought that it was that Barbara, but also I'm really excited
But
to
you
see
can now have
Barbara.
another bestie Barbara.
Exactly. Barbara.
Yeah.
Wait, where did... Grew up in Berkeley.
There.
Okay.
Top. Yep.
Oh, amazing.
Yep.
I used to work in Berkeley.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's very cool.
Where is Kamano Island? I'm not sure where that is. Do you know where that is?
No.
Yeah, let us know, Barbara. I don't know where Kamano Island is.
I don't know either. And then I saw someone have a question about how did I create the font or type that we're working with. I don't remember who said it. It's like since kind of gotten pushed up. But I'm just using, honestly, one of my favorite go-tos, sans serif fonts, Nimbus Sans. And I like it a lot because it has tons and tons of different weights and widths. Let's see if I go to Nimbus. Oops, I accidentally did a keyboard shortcut there. Nimbus Sans, and I don't even have all of them added, but I have a lot of the ones that I use a lot added. But there's like major condensed, there are of course the regular ones, and then there's extended versions. And so because I really like to, it was Ray. Thank you, Ray, for asking. Because I do like to customize my typefaces a lot, this one is kind of built really flexibly. And so it makes it a little bit easier and more legible to then like customize it even more without destroying the typeface. So Nimbus Sans Ray is just kind of a top typeface of mine. And then we're gonna do emoji 1. Hey. Stop.
Emoji 1.
So I've got kind of I don't know, what I'm sort of beginning to see as like my little like personal brand of like, okay, here's some like cool sticker content, like a brand / like palette is emerging. And I mentioned earlier that I wanted to play around with some 3D effects. So kind of what I'm imagining are like little stickers that maybe like boop, like pop around, some type that moves around. That'll be GIFs that I can then like copy and paste in my Instagram stories. And so something that I've been really enjoying recently, and I did discover on, oh hey Apurva, good to see you again, that I did on a previous live stream with, I think her name was Chick of All Trades on Instagram, and I'm blanking on her like not Instagram handle, actually, Just maybe. And we were playing around with doing like 3D effects on emojis and had some like really cool effects. And so I am going into the Emoji 1 font, which I think is actually loaded onto like all Macs, if I'm correct in that assumption.
Emoji 1, I think, well, I don't have a Mac, I have a PC, and they do have Emoji 1. If I'm not mistaken, that's an Adobe thing, but I could be wrong.
Oh,
so correct us in the chat if either if you know the answer, let us know in the chat. But I thought it was an Adobe thing. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I like downloaded it from somewhere and I'm just forgetting. So we have this Emoji 1, and I just got there by typing in emoji into my font thingy. And then you've got these kind of like really nice pre-made illustrations. And what's super cool about these is if you expand them, so I can just do that again, but we have it sort of here as a font. And so like if I were to double click another glyph, then it would bring up a new emoji. And I can resize it as if it were a font, things like that. But if you were to go Command-Shift-O and create an outline of it, then you've got this really nice illustration that you could fully break up into different pieces. As you can see that I'm doing here with this camera emoji. And so because it's made up of all these little pieces, and they are all exactly like this. So like if I were to go to like this iPhone, for instance, or I don't know, I guess it's not an iPhone, it's just another phone.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. Emoji One is an open source font built by Adobe.
Okay, perfect.
There we go. And I guess it answers the next question, which
Yep.
is it commercially free? Emojis themselves, it depends on the font family.
Yep.
In this case, it is, because anything that is developed by Adobe is meant to be used commercially. So anything you download from Adobe Fonts, from Adobe Stock, all that stuff you generate through AI is commercially safe.
Yes, okay, which is, thank you for looking that up, because I have used these for client projects before, and I think I have been very aware that they are all free and like open source, because they've like existed on my computer. But like I was saying, I've used these for client projects a lot, and it's just really, really helpful to have this kind of like base illustration that then you can go in and customize. So like, for instance, I actually used this phone for a client's project a long time ago, and I was able to go in and customize all of the colors with the client's brand colors. And it was just like a really
Super
quick,
cool.
easy way to like utilize a tool, a free tool that's already on your computer, and just fully customize it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's the beauty, that you didn't spend that much time on making something very custom that was essentially not a template, but almost like a template,
yep.
you know?
Yeah, it's a really great starting point. And as I'm about to show you, so if we go into effects, we go to 3D materials. I personally like inflate on these a lot. But we go ahead and render it, and it looks a little wonky, right? Like it looks almost like one of those like puff stickers, you know?
Yeah.
But what we can do is, if we were to then go in and sort of begin to like separate these out. So actually I'm gonna ungroup them. Let's ungroup a lot. So now we've got like all the sort of separate pieces. And then if I regroup, I'm just gonna regroup the camera body. And then I apply the same effect. And okay, now it's just like a little bit more realistic looking. I'm also going to, let me ungroup, regroup, and I'm going to include this little, I don't know, I guess it's probably like part of the...
Like the grip?
The grip, yeah. And so now if I apply inflate here...
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got something that's a little bit more...
The lens looks good, yeah.
A little bit more realistic. And now if I take the lens, and I'm going to group the lens, apply inflate here... Okay, that looks weird, and we don't like that. So let's try, and this is kind of the sort of like trial and error that I sort of like to play around with and see. Okay,
much better.
That looks a lot better.
Much
and so
better.
really I just applied inflate to the back circle here and left the rest of it flat. And, oh, that's scary. That looks like an eye.
It does look like an eye, yeah.
And so, I don't know, like, let's see if these little circles, they kind of look like bubbles. So maybe we'll just leave them flat. So, now we have this like really kind of interesting, really interesting kind of illustration. And, you know, I'm gonna go over to, what's funny is sometimes the glyph window pops up automatically, I think because this is like a glyph font. But sometimes it's helpful to go up if you go to type. You can open up the glyph window that way. But if we just compare it to the original, we've just got like, you know, something that feels a little bit more custom, a little bit different. And it's fun to play around with. And I think that what I'll do with these is just kind of make some interesting little stickers. So eventually, I look at that, it's already 9:23. Like, I'm just like, where does the time go?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know. But what I will do is take this over into Adobe Express, and, you know, maybe we just make it so that it all, maybe it like jiggles around a little bit, and something that's like adds a little bit of engagement to it and makes it feel
yeah, it looks fantastic.
Special. Yeah. And these kind of like additional features, the 3D and materials features, they're always being updated by the Adobe team. I mean, I feel like I honestly don't even remember when Inflate was added, but I do remember learning about a lot of these 3D features in one of the Adobe MAX conferences years ago. And so it's just kind of like fun things like this that are just kind of cool to, it's helpful to attend conferences like the Max Festival for this reason, because it does kind of remind you of like, okay, these features exist. Some of them have been around for a very long time, and it's easy to get into your kind of pattern and like forget to try new things.
Can you think of since we're talking about Adobe Max and there's going to be a lot of new features released in the next week, but can you think of any feature that completely changed your life in the last Max or so, maybe the last 2 or 3? You're like, oh my God, this is a huge game changer.
I don't use Photoshop as much as you, it sounds like, but a Photoshop tool that I think has been really, really game changing for me is generative fill. I absolutely love that. And the amount of times I'll just like select something that I want to go away and just click generative fill, the little button, and just like disappears, perfectly populates whatever was around with it. It like, and that's not really even the way that you're supposed to use it, but I use it all the time.
But that's the point. You use it to your purposes, you know, to your needs, to make it's a tool. You know.
Yeah, we were talking about this off camera before we started, but I'm like in the process of buying a house, and I'm working off of all of the listing photos to like create some design iterations for different rooms. And so I was like going in and selecting a lot of that artwork that's hanging on the wall, and I'm like, that's not my art, and just like automatically getting rid of it, putting in pictures of my art, hanging it up on walls in different ways. And so yeah, that's been a really helpful tool for me.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have a favorite?
God, there's so many. Obviously, generative fill has been a big game changer, but you know, the remove tool has been. See, generative fill is great for, as you mentioned, you know, like there's like a mug here, and you gotta get rid of it or whatever. But the remove tool does the same thing on smaller areas and much faster. The remove tool's algorithm to remove something from an image is so complex and so good, and it doesn't need to upload it to the cloud like you do with generative fill and have it come back.
Okay.
So for like little blemishes and things like that, or like, you know, little dust particles or whatever, it's great.
Yep.
So I really like that tool a lot.
Yeah.
And that was added like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay. See, this is why I need to watch your YouTube channel, because I'm like, that would probably be better for what it is that I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And actually, there's a new feature with that tool that we're going to cover a little later on today. So yeah, super excited to share that with you guys later.
Tune in, y'all.
Oh, look, the camera flash. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I was kind of like, originally I was like, okay, camera flash. Now I'm kind of just thinking, I don't know, it's like a nice little element maybe. I'm using the star tool here, and for people who maybe are not as familiar with the star tool, there's a ton of keyboard shortcuts that you can use with this. It's honestly kind of difficult for me to explain, but I'm trying to think of how to do it. So if you select the star tool and you kind of begin dragging it out with your mouse, I always kind of hold the shift key, but when I'm holding on my mouse pad and the shift key and I press the up and down arrows, that changes the number of points on the star.
Super cool.
And if I, if I hold the command key and slide my finger up and down on the trackpad, and again, I'm like keeping my fingers on the trackpad this entire time, that changes how far out sort of the little like arms go.
Yep.
So I don't know if that was like a very comprehensive or understandable explanation, but
in other words, you have to smash your forehead up against the keyboard, and then you know,
and then eventually you'll get what you're trying for. Yeah, that's
Ray said you need more fingers.
Like literally, and it's just me being like this, and then my fingers start to get like tired because I'm trying so many different things, and half the time I'm like, I forget how to use it if I haven't used it in like a month, and then I'm like, what is the command option shift up down? Like, how do I do this?
I'm sure this has happened to you where you're like, you do a shortcut. Oh wait, that wasn't it. Oh wait, this wasn't it. Oh wait, this wasn't it.
Yep.
And then you try the first thing again, and
then it works. Yeah. And then, like meanwhile, you've like opened 4 different documents and you've like searched for something on your computer, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Like, so I was right the first time. Why didn't it work?
Yeah, literally, it's like because you weren't pressing it in the right order or something like that. Oh God.
And then I don't know about you, but I work on my laptop sometimes. I also
Uh-huh.
have a desktop, and the keyboard is obviously arranged differently in terms of like the spacing between the keys and stuff like that. It's not exact. So if I'm working on my desktop and then I come over and work on my laptop, when I do a keyboard shortcut, I have the muscle memory of how far like the shift key is. But now I'm hitting like the enter key.
Yup.
You know what I mean?
1,000%. Yeah, when my work laptop is a different size than my personal laptop, and so that's the same sort of thing where it's just like I'm used to things being in the right place, and then all of a sudden they're not in the right place, and I'm like, what's going on? Okay, what are other, like, we've got a camera, so I'm thinking if I go to like a Photoshop
Class or something.
class,
Yeah.
then that would be a really good thing.
I mean, I guess the other obvious one would be video, but it's just another camera.
That's another camera. Here's pen. So
pen
there's,
for-
okay, we've
yeah.
got Illustrator, Paintbrush.
So let's think about the classes: Adobe Express,
Mm-hmm.
Illustrator, Premiere. Oh, what would they have? Some Substance classes for Substance 3D classes.
Okay.
Audition for audio.
Oh, okay, so let's see. There's gotta be, is there like a headphone or something?
Yeah, there's got to be. Oh, there you go. Headphones right there, on the left, blue.
This thing?
Left, bottom.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. See, left and right have never been my strong suits. Okay. Okay, so that seems like a good, so we've got kind of like Illustrator, excuse me. We've got, I don't know, Paintbrush, that's lots of things.
Yeah.
Express, any kind of like,
Yeah, like the audio Audition is Adobe Audition is the app.
okay, I've never used that before. I am not familiar.
It's really good for before there was all this cool AI stuff on. By the way, if you guys haven't tried it, podcast.adobe.com, highly recommend it. And what it is you upload your audio and it just removes all the crazy background noise and it sounds like you're in a studio. You know,
Oh,
sounds
wow.
like it creates like a podcast voice. There might be, you know, like a vacuum cleaner behind you and then you won't even hear it. It sounds amazing. So highly recommend that. But anyway, prior to that, I used to use Adobe Audition a lot to remove like hums and stuff. You know, when you record audio, you hear
Yeah.
the fridge or, you know, whatever electric device. It was really good at reducing that hum.
That's good to know. This is kind of scary looking, but that's interesting. You know, we're just going for the quick effect here, so we're just gonna leave that as is. Okay. And maybe with this kind of pen tool, maybe we'll use blob brush and just kind of go like, I really need to increase clearly the increments on my keyboard shortcut because I'm just sitting here being like, okay, here we go. Oops, I don't want that to be gray. And blob brush again. Blob brush, okay, that's another one of my favorite things that I think I learned about in Max as well. Did not know this was a thing, did not know how to use it. As soon as I learned about it, I'm like, wait, this is actually like lightweight, the most useful thing I've ever used.
Ray is asking, is the camera digital or film? I'm guessing he's asking about the camera you have on there, the emoji, my assumption. I don't know, I would assume digital.
Yeah, it's looking pretty digital to me, but it could be film if you want it to be.
Sure.
Do you like shooting in film?
No, actually, I've never done it. Never
Okay.
done it. Have you?
I have and I do. It's fun. I really enjoy it. I haven't as much recently because all of my film cameras are broken, which is really annoying. Every time I lend my sister a camera, Jessica, if you're listening or watching, every time I lend her a film camera, it somehow comes back to me broken, and I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. But I had a very old Minolta that belonged to my grandfather that was like worked perfectly fine until Jessica took it to the beach.
Oh, Jessica.
And now,
No matter how old you are, Jessica keeps breaking your things.
Now our family heirloom is just an ornament. It is no longer functional. So anyway, but yes, I do like.
Who's older, you or Jessica?
I'm older by 3 years. Yeah. Jessica and I are very close. We get along super well, which is why she's going to be moving into the house with me.
Nice.
Like, fun. It's kind of even giving like, I don't know, like Microsoft
Yeah, like
1990.
yeah.
You know?
All you need is the like that old school bevel and emboss that you saw on every website in '98. You know, with the pill buttons.
Yes. Ooh, Ray said if film, there is a film emoji, which would be good for, actually for Premiere Pro, like maybe those.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Because if we do film, then we don't need to
I think there is
there's
a film camera down there, but not necessarily film itself.
This is kind of, sort of, but I think there's,
I thought there was too, but I guess not.
A film strip? How weird.
Yeah, I thought there was one as well.
The thing too about emojis is like, I will have this memory of it and I spend forever searching for it. And for some reason, like, do not find it. And then a day later, I'm like,
oh, there it is.
Literally
there's
right
the
there
film
all
emoji.
along. Maybe it's like, maybe there's like a one in the Apple or iPhone emoji. Or it's in like a completely different section for some random reason. Whatever. I'm not gonna look for it. Because time is flying. And I do want to make sure we've got time to go over into Express. But, okay, let's not do it like that. There we go. This one, I don't know exactly, honestly, how this one's going to go over into our little inflate, but we'll just have to see. Duplicate little artboards. Like that. So are there any other like speakers or teachers that you're excited for Max?
A lot of them. I've been fortunate enough that I became friends with a lot of the speakers. This will be my, I think, 8th or 9th Max. I don't remember.
Wow.
But a lot of people on the chat will probably know Aaron Nace from Flern. He's a very good friend of mine. He also has a YouTube channel where he teaches Photoshop. Great friend. His class is always really good. If people don't know who Chris Converse is, I would definitely check out his classes. It's really good when it comes to everything. Everything that he does is great, but he's good with After Effects. He's good. He does a lot of. I think he's gonna be doing sessions on Adobe Acrobat.
Okay.
So a lot of new stuff coming out with that. He also does Photoshop stuff. Colin Smith from Photoshop Cafe, also recommend him. I'm doing a joint session with my friend Lisa Carney, who also creates movie and TV posters, and her sessions are always good. And she also is teaching. She does a lot of mobile photography, so she's teaching a class on that.
Cool.
So yeah, a lot of great people. How about you? Anybody you're excited to see?
I mean, Andrew is always a lot of fun.
Andrew, yeah, of course.
And so I'm like excited to see him. I mean, I'm also just kind of like, I'm not as familiar with the Adobe creators as it sounds like you are. I'm really excited to just kind of like dig into some of the tools in Illustrator. It's a program that I've had a lot of fun kind of like using with my own knowledge over the years, but I just love seeing how other people use it in new contexts, like with the new tools. And so I'm just kind of excited to browse around and see. I'm really fortunate my manager also sort of like makes sure to like take time out of our work days during the
fun. That's good.
Conference to
that's really good.
Really dive in. And so we're both just sort of like, you know, kind of working on work stuff and then also doing some Adobe streaming, and then we're like messaging each other back and forth being like, oh my god, did you see this new thing in Photoshop, or oh this and that over in Illustrator. And so
it's super cool. You actually just said something, Corey, that I'm actually curious about now with the chat. So you mentioned that you're going to be watching Max as you're doing work. What are people doing as you're watching us? Are you guys working at school, at home, just watching? Like, let us know in the chat what you're up to besides watching Corey do his magic in Illustrator.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I'm watching Adobe Live, I'm usually also kind of working in the background or listening to music, or sometimes I even got it on while I'm like doing a chore around the house in the kitchen or something like that. So are you guys at your desks?
Yeah, let us know. Oh, thank you so much, Joella. Joella's saying that she watched my composite work on restoring an old piece of art. It was so interesting. Yeah, so that was Adobe MAX San Diego 2017-ish. And that was one of 5 different artists that took a piece of art, like a traditional piece of art that had been lost because of theft, damage, whatever the reason was, but we still had a photograph of it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so the job of us 5 artists was to recreate it using only Photoshop and Adobe stock images.
Okay.
So mine was called the Ghent Ultrapiece, I think was the name of it. And I cannot remember the name of the artist. My God, yeah. My memory is terrible.
Same.
Yeah, point is that it was a really fun piece, and we had the composites in the walls at Max, and people would come in and check them out. And it was a really fun project to work on, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I thank you so much for thinking about that. I hadn't thought about that in a lot of years since, like I said,
That's
that was like
so
2017 or so.
Oh my gosh, you've got like a mega fan in the audience. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Who was that, Joella?
Yeah, and Jasenia said, mostly working, always with 20 different tasks at hand. Yep. Antonio's cooking. What are you cooking, Antonio?
I'm glad I'm not the only one who watches and listens in the kitchen. And then I'll be like watching, or I'll be really kind of listening, and then be like, wait, shoot, what was that? And then I'll like miss something, and I have to.
Right. Oh my God, Joella really knows. So, so she wrote cat hair for fur. Remember, I do. So so my piece was a bunch of people standing around, and I'll show it to you. Standing around with a bunch of horses next to them, and they had hats, and you know those old school fur hats. So I used the cat to recreate the fur. I can't. Yeah, you're like really. So this is it right here. Is the Adobe Stock Make a Masterpiece campaign for Adobe MAX, and again it was there we go. Jan Van Eck was the artist. 4.7 gigabytes, about 88 hours worth of work, 115 Adobe stock images. So this is the recreation, and this is what Joella's talking about. This right here is a cat, right here. All the hats with fur are cats. And,
Shut up.
And it took so many different images to recreate that.
Wow.
The originals here on the right, and the composite, the one I made on the left. And this is all Adobe stock images, and see, like that suit became that part, you know, the towel, you know, and then this is where they're talking, the cat became the hats.
Wait, that is actually amazing.
Thank you.
Holy moly.
Yeah, thank you, Joella. Like I said, I haven't thought about this since like 2017 or 16. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah. So this is why I love Adobe MAX, because this year I'm not doing anything in terms of creating artwork, but there's a bunch of great artists every year creating something fun. So
that
definitely
is so
tune
cool.
in.
Can you like send me the link to that, because I want to?
Sure, I'll send it to you.
I want to watch that.
Yeah.
That's just like a really awesome. That's a really awesome project. Yeah, like I didn't even know that existed, and it's just like something that someone probably stumbled onto and was like, wait, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Joel. I appreciate the comments.
Yeah, like amazing memory too. Okay. We're just moving along. So we've been chit-chatting, but if anyone has any questions about anything that they're seeing, just let me know. We're kind of just going. So we've got some like interesting little stickers.
Nice.
And
let us know which one your favorite is in the chat.
Maybe it's just because I made it first, but I really like the
camera. Like the
camera.
camera a lot too.
I like the camera too.
For me, it was the wow factor, because I didn't know you could do that inflate thing. And I was like, oh my God, it's so smart. You know, I love it. So not to say that the other ones don't look as nice, but since that one had the wow factor, I probably like it a little more.
Yeah, it's very like, I don't know. And it like does work a little better. Like if I really wanted to make these feel more realistic, then I would go in and kind of play around with them more, sort of like I did with the camera. But in the spirit of time and keeping things moving, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start using Creative Cloud libraries to start moving assets over into Adobe Express. And so if you use really any Creative Cloud products and you don't use Creative Cloud libraries, you're doing it wrong, okay? And I don't say that lightly or very seriously. You can do it however you want to, but you should be using libraries. They are so useful. I use them all the time, especially if you're moving things over into Express or working in between different programs. So today we're gonna do Adobe MAX Conference. I'm gonna create a new library. Boom, just like that. And I am in my libraries panel, which I do usually have open. It's where I was pulling different colors and stuff from to get started on this.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start popping these over as graphics into this library.
Cool.
And so I selected Adobe, I'm selecting Max. So now we've got Adobe and Max that are in my library.
Quick question, why didn't you do it separately?
Because in my brain, I want to have these kind of animate on from different sides.
Smart.
And so we're gonna go like swoosh, like
Very
that.
smart. I love it.
And so, you know, like originally I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'll just type it out and then I can retype it out in Express, but I kind of wanted to play around with these 3D things. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort of add a lot of these as separate graphics to my library. Let's make sure this is all one, yes, okay. And then I will have them in my library that then I can pull super easily from when I move over into Express. This is a graphic. We're gonna add some of these funky 3D, very like 90s looking graphics in. Let's do our, oh, my headphones are all separate. Let's just lock all of these.
Yeah, like
Group.
those are like the Mercedes logo. Mercedes, right? Or what
Yeah.
car company is that?
Yep, it is. It's definitely looking kind of. That's why it looked familiar. I was kind of like, why does that look familiar? That's the curse of it, just being a designer. Is like sometimes you like create something and you're like, oh, this actually fully already exists, and I was just completely ripping it off without knowing it. But everything's
Has that ever happened to you? Like after you turn in, you know, a logo or something, and then you're just around town and you're like, holy Christ, that exists.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like projects that I've done and worked on in my full-time job and in client work where I'll either get it just about to the point of showing it to the stakeholder or the client or something and be like, wait a second, like this is actually like the exact color palette I've seen somewhere else. Or I'll get it to the client and they'll be like, this kind of looks like something. And I'm like,
What?
you know what? I was testing you.
Yeah.
It does. And that's actually, we're not going to do that one. But yeah, it's, do you like encounter that in your own work?
Not necessarily because it's just so different, but you know, when I first, so I've been a designer, I've been in the design industry for almost 20 years now. Jesus, I feel weird saying that.
It's crazy, right?
It's fast. Is it crazy how fast time goes? But anyway, about, I don't know, 10 plus years ago, I did a logo for someone, and logos have never been my thing. I don't do them anymore. I don't enjoy it. But at the time, I was, you know, dabbling in that world, and it's somebody that I ended up becoming friends with, and you know, still have their number to this day. And they're still using the logo to this day for their business.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and just a couple months ago, I was in Mexico, and I was walking, and there was this mall, like a luxury mall, and the logo of the mall, basically the same thing I designed.
Shut up.
I was like, oh my god! I was like, who ripped off who? You know, because I don't know how long that mall has been there. You know.
Yeah.
And
that's wild.
I couldn't believe it. It was. I'm sure that they never saw my logo, and I know for sure I'd never seen their logo. But it's crazy, you know, like how the human mind works. You know, because somebody thought it was a shield and it had a design inside of it, and it was a very minimalistic design. So sure, you know, at the end of the day, it's 3 simple shapes, right?
Yeah.
So like, how many different combinations of it could there possibly be? You know, so.
But still, it's like, well, and it's like you said, it's kind of the way the human mind works. It's sort of like I said, everything is derivative. Everything's like kind of been done before in some shape or form. Like it's really hard to come up with like super original. I think it's kind of impossible to come up with original things.
Yeah.
And so, but that's crazy. And what an honor too that they are still using your logo all these years later.
Sure.
And cool to be like, okay, like that was a good design, and now I'm seeing it like other places as well.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I don't think they ever saw my logo, but it's one of those things like, all right, I did something that someone else thought was good, even though they never saw mine. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, so I actually took a picture of it and sent it to the guy. I was like, what I found in Mexico. At this luxury mall in like Merida, Mexico.
That's crazy. How long were you in Mexico for?
3 months.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
I spent 3 months in, so from February to May, I was in Mexico, and from the end of May till August, I traveled through Europe.
I love that for you. I'm very jealous.
Thank you.
I'm going to Mexico in February.
Ooh, where are you going?
I'm going to Mexico City.
Mexico City. Have you
Yeah.
been there before?
I have never been before.
You'll love it. It's my favorite city in the world.
That's so many people, and I'm going with a lot of friends who have all been there before.
Oh, great.
And
You'll love
it's like I've definitely been to Mexico a lot of times, but never to Mexico City. And so this is, but every single person
It's great.
is just
Yeah.
loves it.
It's got everything. If you like food, it's got great food. If you like culture, great culture. If you like history, history. Like whatever you like.
Yep.
If you like to party, you can party, you know?
Yeah, there's an art fair that happens there at the beginning of every February. So we're gonna go for that. And so like great art, and I'm kind of like, okay, just bought a house. I'm like, get some furniture,
Yeah,
get some cool new
yeah.
art.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm like beyond excited.
How long are you gonna be there?
I'm gonna be there for a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
So
How's your Spanish?
not great. Not great.
It'll be better when you come back.
Yes. Well, and so like I don't know. I like learned Spanish in Montessori school, you know, in the way that you do as a kid.
Sure.
And then I took it in high school with an amazing like family friend who was also a really great tutor, and she tutored me for years. And it's actually embarrassing, and I'm ashamed to say that it like did not stick and didn't work very well because she put so much work into. She put a lot of work into teaching me, and I'm really sorry, Bottomy. I did my best.
Yeah, it's gonna start coming out when you're there, I'm sure.
Yeah, if I'm in a Spanish-speaking country for longer than 2 weeks, then it's like reliably begins to come out, and I can like begin to navigate again.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you a really silly story about Mexico City. It's gonna take like 30 seconds,
Okay,
but it's
please.
one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me in my life. We're on the airplane, about to land in Mexico City. My wife and I like watching really silly, you know, shows like 90 Day Fiancé. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but anyways,
I've heard of it.
It's a reality TV show. Don't watch it. It's terrible. That's our guilty pleasure. One of the couples lives in Mexico City. And she's saying, oh my God, wouldn't it be great if we saw the couple in Mexico City just walking around? And I'm like, this 10 million people city. Like, we're not going to see a random couple from 90 Day Fiancé walking around. We're literally sitting at a park, checking our phones, trying to figure out where to have for lunch. And then I start tapping her, and I'm like, start pointing. And then she saw a couple walking with a dog. And she's like, oh my God, what a cute dog. And I was like, no, the guys, it's the couple. Like, those guys are the couple from the show.
That's insane. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, you were in the right place at the right time, but it's almost like you like spoke it into existence.
Yes, because why would we even mention this random couple from 90 Day Fiancé, you know, out of anything in the world, you know?
That's really
And that
wild.
same day, too. You know, not the next day. You know, it's like one of those things that you just say it and it happens, and it's like, what are the odds? You know, like, oh my God.
Well, you put it out there into the universe. Okay, so something that I'm doing that I've been kind of trying to play around with is, so I just downloaded this as a little video. And as of right now, you can't export videos as GIFs in Adobe Express. But what you can do, little workaround, if you do video, convert to GIF, then you can download the video that you just created.
Look at that.
And this is, I'm still kind of getting used to playing around with this. But
super cool.
Okay.
And there you go. That's why you split it. Amazing.
And that's why I split it. So now we've got this little GIF that I can send to my phone. And GIFs are great because you can have them sit in your camera roll, and then you can just copy and paste them from your camera roll into an Instagram story. And I'm just like shocked that we are almost basically out of time, and so I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could do before we go out. I want to try to get my little, and I meant to show everyone this, but the speed with which all of the graphics that I dropped into my library appeared within Adobe Express was just like amazing to me. And so, like I said, when we were over in Illustrator, I dropped all those graphics in. We've immediately got them over here. I don't have to do any of this crazy 3D work over here. It's totally customized. So what I could do too is, and we've just probably got like a minute or two to show this.
1 minute.
1 minute, but if I were to go and double click on the file that I dropped in, and let's say change the color.
Oh, wow.
See if we do this, and it's not cute, pretty ugly, right?
You can see that it's saved in the library.
Saved in the library. And then I've got this little assets have changed. If I click update, then we give it a second. Might need to refresh the page. But it will then, okay, magic moment.
Oh, update again.
Update, come on, update.
There we go. Oh wait, it says.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
So just a really quick, easy way, mess around with things in your library, make changes, and then it's reflected across all Adobe products.
Yep,
So,
amazing.
good testament for using.
There
Adobe
we go.
Creative Cloud.
And perfect timing, Corey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me.
Amazing. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Robert, Cody Bear, RB, we'll see you soon. You'll be right back in like 10 minutes, right?
Yep, I'll be back in just a couple minutes.
All right.
I'm hosting Arabella, so thanks
I'll
everyone
be
and
back
stick
in
around.
an hour. Later.
See ya.
We're so excited to be here with you guys today doing some Valentine's themed photos.
I usually start in Lightroom, of course. I usually have a gray card in here and I take my little eyedropper tool to just kind of color correct. And I always make sure that my lens corrections and all of that is checked off. I'm gonna copy these settings here. If I press Command V, that is the correct color. So let's just go ahead and edit this in Adobe Photoshop. So the first thing that I wanna do is I am just gonna crop this because honestly, I don't really need anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm just going in here and just kind of cleaning up some of the things. I cleaned up some little
Amazing.
corner, like little edges there. Okay, so I'm taking care of removing the shadow and look at, can you believe? Like,
That's amazing.
Amazing. Duplicate these layers and I'm going to merge the layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these into a folder here. I'm gonna call them GF for generative fill, but then I have that layer right there. And I am going to merge it down. So I like to kind of work with, you know, stamp tool, using a soft round brush and like making it a little bit more believable here. You're setting up 2 curves adjustment layers. One is gonna be the burn, one is gonna be the dodge. So I'm just gonna grab my soft brush in white, bring down the opacity. So I'm literally just painting in on the like bright areas of our image here. Darken these darks really quickly. And it just like, I don't know, it adds that contrast that like I love. No pop, the pop. Let's go ahead and add some sparkles. I've bought some brushes before, but I always like to have them on a separate layer. So I have it on white and I have my opacity probably a little bit higher, maybe like 90%. And what I like to do when I'm placing sparkles is just to find like the, you know, the highlights in
Where the light is actually hitting.
Yeah. And then maybe like a bigger one here. It's great. I like to use the object selection tool because then you can click sample all layers.
There you
and
go.
then that way it will know to read everything that's in your image. Great, we've got it selected. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a Command Shift C for a copy merged. I'm going to do Command V and now I have this cocktail with the lollipop all on its own in a layer, right? So now I'm gonna duplicate it again. Since I have these 2 layers separated, right? I'm gonna go on the bottom layer. I'm gonna go ahead and convert this to a smart object and I'm gonna go into filter, blur gallery, and path blur. And I get to just like make this point stretch out. We can adjust the settings on the right-hand side. We've got speed, but maybe I don't want it to be going both directions. So then I go ahead and uncheck the center blur. And now we've got a really fun effect.
And then it looks
going
like
on.
it's sliding across the screen,
Exactly,
which is so fun.
exactly. That looks great. I'm gonna press OK. I wanted to duplicate that effect and now I'm moving it at the top. Now I'm gonna add a layer mask onto it and I'm just gonna grab a soft brush again, 40-30% opacity, change that to black, and I'm gonna paint over that front because I do actually want it to feel like it's also the front and side. So then it just kind of adds that little bit like a little dreaminess there. It's super fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little color fill. It's gonna look crazy right now. Don't worry about it. So I'm gonna go like down to here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and create a clipping mask so that it just affects the effect. So there we go. We got like multiply. We've got a few different like effects here. I kind of like multiply, but I'm gonna bring down the opacity so it's not nearly as crazy. I'm gonna actually duplicate that and also affect it to that top one as well. So now we have our image here in Lightroom, right? In this case, I kind of just started playing around with some effects, really. Like I upped a little bit of the texture, maybe went down on the clarity. And then I also kind of want to just up the whole exposure a little bit, add some contrast. We're gonna add some grain as well. And I kind of want to punch it up too. So I really want to add some grain there. I'm gonna use that point color that I love so much. I basically just click on a color anywhere that I want and I can just start manipulating it.
Love that.
Wow. Amazing.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Great job, Arabella. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
We're so excited to be here with you guys today doing some Valentine's themed photos.
I usually start in Lightroom.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for sticking around. If you are still in the chat, and if you are new joining us, welcome. My name is Corey. I'm sitting here with Arabella. How are you today, Arabella?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. I drove up to the city from San Jose. It
Amazing.
was a nice drive. It was awesome. And it's actually kind of nice weather today because
Yes.
I was here this past weekend for the Indian summer that San Francisco has, and it was
So
like
hot.
so hot,
Yep.
like 90-degree weather in
Yeah.
San Francisco where there's no AC. You guys, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, well, it's like a city that is normally just like mild year round, got the fog, got the sunshine
Carl
to
the
have
Fog.
that heat. Carl the Fog.
Carl the Fog.
He keeps it cool, but sometimes he gets burnt off.
Yeah.
It's that late summer vibes. It's like you said, and it's
Yeah.
like, and it's been especially hot here too.
Yeah.
So you're here, and it's just a beautiful sunny.
It's
the
awesome.
mist is burning off a little bit. It's just very typical San Francisco.
Yeah.
We are here in San Francisco in the Adobe Live Studio. We're both really happy to be here. You're up from San Jose. I'm from Portland.
I saw your little
Oregon.
stories
So
where you're like flying. I was like, ooh,
Oh,
okay.
I flew all the way down. I was taking pictures from the airplane.
I love it.
On that note, if you're not following us, you can follow me at Corey Allen Hall on Instagram. Where can they follow you?
You can follow my work account at Weekend Creative or my personal at Arabella Espinoza. Either of those,
Yep.
you'll find something creative.
Listen, if you're not following Weekend Creative on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You absolutely need to be, because I was following you and your business partner on that account.
Shout out Ellie. She's in New Zealand right now.
Shout out Ellie, which we all did streaming. We did a day of streaming like a month or so
Yeah.
ago, which was the first time that we met in person. But I was like, wait, you guys are, and I was like, oh, wait, this is so cool because you guys do such cool stuff on Instagram, and I was so excited.
You're
And
the
so
best.
this is our second time streaming together, and I'm
Well,
like,
and I've already known you just from streaming and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. We finally met, and it was great. So
Yay.
we're gonna have a
Yay.
blast, you guys.
yeah.
today.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what we're gonna work on?
You know, we are so ready for Max, and I thought it'd be so fun to kind of retouch some self-portraits. These are actually not self-portraits. I did not take them myself, but they're of me.
Yep.
Shout out
Still
to my friend.
self-portrait.
Still self-portrait. Shout out to my friend, Rocio Rivera. She is an incredible photographer. Definitely someone to follow as well at Rocio Rivera. And we're the kind of people who love to take like photography, like creative retreats.
Yep,
So this
okay.
was one of them where we went to Palm Springs and we
Oh.
just like photographed each other and relaxed. It
Yep.
was like very much just chill vibes.
Wow, talk about a great place to have a photography
so
retreat
great.
too, because
So great.
Palm Springs is so photogenic.
It's so
absolutely
photogenic
stunning.
and so beautiful, and we got like the warmest weather, so I'm manifesting that for Miami for Max. So yeah, I thought it'd be kind of of fun. So, I mean, it's kind of weird that I'm going to be editing photos of myself. I don't know. It's like,
No,
I'm
not
not
weird
used
at
to
all.
that, but...
Listen, we all edit photos of ourselves, okay? And if you're lying, if we know because we all do it. So,
But it's so fun. I was like, okay, let's just do it. And if we finish, then I've got other portraits that we can retouch as well, because why not, right?
okay,
So I feel like,
before we
go
start, I
ahead.
just want to say hi to some of the people in
Oh
the
my
chat.
God, yes.
We've still got Barbara in there. We've still got Cody.
hello.
Lorianne, hello. I might not have noticed you in the chat in the last live stream because I was doing lots of designing, but welcome. Good to see you, Drew. Kane said that it looks like they were just in Portland, which is awesome. I hope you had a good
Amazing.
time.
Okay.
Joella, hello again. Carl the Fog, there is an IG account for Carl the Fog too. Make sure
Love
you follow
it.
him.
Yeah, you got to follow.
Love that. Ray, sounds like a magical place. So anyway, let us know where you're joining from. If you're new,
Yes.
if you're sticking around, we're so happy to have you here. Now is a great time to just ask some questions too. So
Yes,
if you have
ask
any
anything,
questions,
anything about process, anything about, what's coming up, anything creative. I mean, tell us if you're going to Max. Oh my gosh, it'd be so fun.
Yep.
Hopefully I see you there, because I'll be there and that'll be fun. But yeah, so let's just get into it. So I have all these photos that she took, and we love sun. So I
Yeah,
was just in
beautiful
sun.
photos, by the way.
Just like, so I feel like one of the first things that I like to do is I kind of like just to cull through. Like I haven't, she's gone ahead and edited them for me already, but it's interesting to have someone else kind of edit
Yes.
the photos,
Because the way that we all edit photos is so different.
It's so different.
And it's kind of like I don't know, I like to think of it as like our little fingerprint that we put on a photo. Is like the way we adjust the lighting, any kind of filters we add, color balance, all that stuff is
Yeah.
different. Also, these photos are gorgeous.
So stunning. She did an amazing job. She's an incredible
Great art
photographer.
direction.
Yeah, and we just had fun. We were just like, you know what? We love, like, I have really tan skin, or at least I did there after spending several days in the sun, baking, literally. So, like, she's great with just, like, skin tones and just, like, all this, like, I don't even know what material that is, like terracotta or, like, that kind of vibe.
Yep.
So
very warm.
this one was one of my favorites. Like one
Yeah.
of these shots right here.
I
It's
love
just
that.
stunning. Yeah, she did amazing. I love them. So
Oh, and great
yeah,
modeling.
there's
You're all
quite
just like,
thank
you're
you.
so chic. You've
I'm
got
like,
the
can you believe
poses
that's
down.
me? That's
I
great.
can because I'm sitting right here in front of you. But can you guys believe?
Can you believe?
Can you believe?
Wow.
Kane says going to Max online, which yes, if you guys aren't able to go in person, which is, completely understandable. I'm not going in person. Join online. It's totally free.
Join online.
Go
you
to
guys.
max.adobe.com. You could check out 200 plus online courses, talks, anything ranging from like all of the Creative Cloud suite, but also like design and business and 3D rendering and compositing, all these things. So
Yes.
Cody Bear
I
says that
love it.
building material is called stucco.
Oh,
LOL.
stucco. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
But
I really like this one as you were going through it.
thank you. I marked, there was one where I marked a 5. This one I marked 5 stars. So I go through and I like, it's funny actually, I'm like an old school type of person when it comes to choosing images. I actually like to have a journal and then pen and then write the last 4 digits of the
I love
as
that.
I'm going through it, just because I don't know, there's something about like a very tactile way of like making selections that way.
Listen.
But otherwise, if I'm in a rush and I'm like, okay, let's just throw it into Lightroom,
Yep.
I can use either the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the stars, or if you're into colors, I'll do like the green flag, which is 8. I always remember that.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I choose, like, make my selections.
Gotcha.
And usually try to go through it fast, because I feel like if I end up thinking on it too much, I start to like not really.
You like gotta focus on selecting, and then
Yeah.
you can go back and like look at the details and stuff.
Exactly.
But that's a really great, I mean, for people who use Lightroom or people who don't, I mean, there's just so many ways to kind of like filter through photos, and then you can filter out your starred images, you can filter out your green flags.
Exactly. Exactly.
The X'd out flag, is it a red flag or is it an X flag?
Oh, great question. I don't know.
Isn't it funny how we can like use these things all the
Flagged
time
and
be like,
unflagged.
flagged and unflagged?
Flagged and unflagged, I think, is the, but.
Cody says she selects with colors too. So,
Nice.
anyway.
Yeah. So it's like either or, whatever makes sense for you.
That's what the cool kids are doing.
Okay, so I think I've kind of that's good. Yeah, this is hard. Ooh, it's a vibey.
I like these too. Very editorial.
Very. That's kind of a vibe, like the closed eyes. And then I think I like this one more over. I think it was this one that I chose. Okay, so
Yep.
here's the thing with self-portraits, and I feel like if you're choosing portraits for like work or like where things, sometimes like eye contact is good to
Yes.
have. You definitely, unless you're kind of like more of an artsy person that kind of like does a little bit more of like I don't want to look at the camera, but you're like, vibey. But I mean, I feel like for most portraits, if you're gonna have it be like a headshot for something,
Yeah.
eye contact is good.
Looking into the camera
Looking
is
into the
good.
camera, and I feel like anything that shows your personality too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're like kind of more artsy and moody, like something like this, where it's like
Yes.
like that. But then I have like my other friend who she's just like a really smiley person, and I feel like this shows more of her personality
Yes.
here, like things like that. Let me see if I can find one where she's like laughing. There we go. You can. Oh wait, where am I?
Where'd they
There we go.
There we
See,
go.
like something like
Nice.
that where it's like, okay, like this is totally you. So I think that's important when you're kind of making selections for
Okay.
portraits. But
Well, and it's kind of based on sort of what the vibe is you're going for, like because this was like the express purpose of like doing something creative and you want a photo field
Yes.
trip and you're like, okay, you've got like the green dress on, you're in the beautiful setting. And so the more editorial poses and eye contacts versus not eye contacts, it's all contextual and kind of makes sense with
Exactly.
what sort of shoot it is you're looking for.
exactly. Okay, so I love this image, but I actually think that this whole thing is distracting to me. So I think I will Gen fill that
Okay,
and kind of
perfect.
see how that goes.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and just start making some edits in here.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited to see how you're going to edit some
I
of
know.
these.
There's so many ways to take it, truly, and I feel like it just, I don't know. I feel like definitely things are getting hot in certain parts in this, at least in this image, so I'll definitely be bringing those highlights down.
Yeah, and if anyone who's watching has any questions, I mean, this is a process where sort of like
Yeah.
little details and tweaks make a really big difference. And so if you're like, okay, how did we get there? How do we get
Yeah.
that effect?
Yeah, so already just bringing all those highlights down to kind of like get that detail is awesome. I can always also just bring down the exposure a tiny bit just to make it a little less hot. But that could work right there. And then I hadn't changed. Oh, one other thing too that I did really quickly is I always make sure that the enable profile corrections is on because that has everything to do with the lens
Gotcha.
correction, but also like there's always been vignetting happening.
Yeah.
So like you kind of just want to make sure that that's like fixed, and you could see how much more detail there is.
Yeah, vignette, I'm
there.
just like,
It works in certain situations,
Yes.
and I feel like,
it's a controversial topic.
it is.
It's a controversial topic.
Tell us in the chat, you guys. Are you a vignette type
How do
of
we
person?
feel about
How do
vignettes?
we feel about them?
How do we feel? There is a time and a place.
There is a time and a place.
There's a time and a place, but it is not the automatic solution. Let me tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, so I don't have the white balance. I think I just have it as shot, but usually auto does a pretty good job sometimes. But even then, sometimes maybe we want to push it even further. I mean, you have like the creative control when it comes to these kind of stuff, like these kinds of things where you're like, well, it's just like for you and you're having fun,
Yep,
you know?
yeah.
So
It's what's great about doing your own projects like this. And then it
Exactly.
gives you the chance to kind of experiment around and be like, no, I love the way this looks and I don't have to do this for anyone else other than me.
Yeah. So here we go. We're already like so good. Like that's like it brings out so much of the colors in my dress,
Yeah.
in the backgrounds, like all
Oh, the
of
dress
that.
is like goes from being very kind of cool to just like very rich and beautiful and saturated.
Yeah.
Also,
absolutely
Robert
love it.
in the chat, thanks for dropping in our live stream that we did, I don't know, however long, a month or so ago. And Cody Bear linked it in there. So if anyone who's listening wants to go back and watch the other live stream,
Yes.
it's right in there.
It's right in there.
It's right in there. And we do have a
Cool.
question too.
Yes.
Ray is asking, how do you choose which distracting
Ooh.
objects to remove?
Okay, that's a great question. I feel like I used to be very particular about like removing anything and everything that felt
Yes.
like it was a distraction, but just because it was a distraction,
Totally.
like a piece of trash on a thing or whatever. But I think depending on what it is that you're shooting, so like street photography, I actually just did a 3-day workshop in the city here this past weekend while it was so hot.
Yeah.
Doing like color and street photography, and it was nice to just like let the trash be the trash and let the things just be, because that's kind of that is street photography. That is like it's just like organic and natural.
Yep.
But then in certain situations like this where it's portraits, like what do I want to remove that's going to make the image stronger? Not because it's a distracting thing per se, but just like, is it going to make the image better? And I feel like in this case, will it enhance exactly
and
correct.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like in this case, I maybe want to gen fill this whole thing out. I feel like that would just make it a little less, and I don't know, maybe, I think this still works because it's kind of like Palm Springs, like, you know, it's kind of like a little very relaxed kind of thing. But this just feels like it's a little bit too much. So I might remove that.
Well, like my thought was too when I saw that is because of the style of this shoot, because it feels more editorial, I was like, oh, is that like a light box? Like, is this part of a set or something? And so it's a distracting element that is just, it doesn't
like my
add
eye
anything.
wants to go there.
Exactly.
Like, well, obviously my eye goes into the green for sure because that's like such a rich color that's standing out from everything else. But then it goes here because I'm like, well, what is that thing? Like, and I'm wondering what that even is. And I'm like, oh, was it like an umbrella or does it look like a satellite? Like, you know what I mean? It just kind of, I don't want that to be the thing that you go to. I kind of just want you to stay around in this kind of area right here.
Yeah.
So that might be something that I remove. In other cases, I mean, like maybe this, if I feel like it's gonna make it stronger, you know, like it just kind of depends.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like you can ask yourself, like, what is the objective of the shoot or this photo? Like, where do I want the eye to go? And is there anything that's drawing away from it? Yes, right?
Correct.
And like in this case, like there's like you look at the subject. For me, there's not a lot that's distracting here.
Agreed.
So it's just kind of like I would go crazy too, though, of like, let's remove this, this, and this, and let's like straighten this, and it's just like, well. Then you kind of lose some of the essence of...
like some of the organicness, some of the like, I don't know. So it just truly depends, I think, on, you know, thankfully this was kind of like such a beautiful location. You know, there really wasn't much distracting. They really take care of their, I forget what place it was. I couldn't tell you right now. I'm like trying to remember. Oh, it's called, Korioka, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Korioka.
Is it a hotel
it's like
or a restaurant?
Yeah, it's like a hotel that has like it's kind of like spa hotel, you know, and they've got they don't even have like TVs in their rooms. Like they only have a vinyl thing, and it's very like. They also want you to be very chill and like not make a lot of noise, and you know it's just meant to be like a very retreat style.
Yeah. It's not like a party spot. It's more just like
it's very chill. Yeah.
Come and read your your little book and relax and sip your tea.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's keep going. So let's see. We've got these options here where we can play with texture and clarity. I mean, I always love texture. I like to push that. Clarity can be fun too. Like if you're going for a more softer vibe, you can always push it to the left to kind of make it a little hazier. That's always fun. But I'm going to leave it there. I like using vibrance over saturation if I'm ever going to punch up any colors. Just because the difference, I feel like with saturation, then you're like, it just goes to, I don't know. The difference is, I don't even know how to explain it, but the contrast gets added to all the colors and it just doesn't look quite as good. Whereas if I push this, like, do you see how the things, like the colors just get richer, but without being overpowering and like making the whole scene?
Yeah, you're right. I would be so curious what sort of the definition difference is between those two
if
words.
anybody knows, that would be great. Drop it in the chat because.
I could look up.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. And then, the other fun thing that I love using ever since it's been introduced is using masking and like changing colors of things. So for example, if I like, you know, really want to change this blue, maybe it's like too much or maybe push it more. It's so funny. This just came up. I was like, person one.
Interesting. That's me. It's really smart. It's doing a lot of work for you there.
Smart.
Here, and also, if you're wondering,
yes,
saturation increases intensity of all colors in an image. Vibrance increases the intensity of muted colors while leaving saturated alone.
Okay, see, that's good.
Yep.
Because I think that's what we want.
Yeah, because otherwise you're like, you don't need it to be like so giant saturated.
No. Yeah, exactly. So, so that's great. Thank you for looking that up. So good. Okay, so I have the great thing is that you can like select all these things right at once. Like, so if I wanted the sky selected, or if I wanted an object, and you know, I can like go over my dress or something. But I have selected the sky, and I think it's missing a little bit here. So I can add by clicking plus, add to mask. And then I like to just do objects, because usually it does a good job of picking up what I want it to pick up. But I guess we'll find out. That's not bad.
Yeah,
the good thing is that I'll be using point color to select that color, and now I can make adjustments to that color alone. So actually what would be more fun is like more of that kind of blue, push it a little bit more toward like, aqua.
Yeah.
And then maybe I want to like, maybe I could desaturate it a little bit, bring it up a little bit more, push it a little bit. So like, there we go. So something like more like that. That's kind of a fun like color to add to that. So yeah, I love doing masks whenever possible. So I can do another one for my dress. Super fun. We can kind of just do an object here, and then I just get to paint like a little kid. I know, literally.
There's something like so satisfying to do.
I know, it really is.
Like people are always like, oh, there's a fast way to do it. And I'm like, no, I kind of like doing it that way.
No, I kind of like it like this.
It's more fun. Look at that. It didn't get your arm at all.
No, it's perfect. And then all I do is just click on that green. And if I wanted to just change a little bit of it, make it a little bit more lean towards the yellow, or even if I really wanted to go a different way, I could.
Crazy.
You
You could be like, I wasn't in a green dress. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. What are you talking about? I kind of like pushing it a little bit more to the yellow. That seems kind of more fun. Ooh, maybe not too much. Okay. Yeah. I think I'll leave the saturation alone. But there we go. Okay,
yeah, it really captures the warmth.
Yeah.
And sort of sets a new feeling for the photograph.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And then, of course, like we can always go into the mixer, too, and adjust colors that way as well. So, you know, we can kind of like see what happens here. Let me see. Maybe push it. Sometimes there's just so much orange in something that like you don't even want to. Sometimes it's not.
Well, especially because like skin is a lot of times orange, and so it's like if you want to adjust orange, you either need to mask it out or something.
Yes, you have to be very careful.
Yeah, it's otherwise you start looking a little bit like an Oompa Loompa.
Okay, so I honestly think I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna go into color grading though, because I feel like that's always a fun one to like. See, so we've got the mid-tones, the highlights, and the shadows. So let me start with the highlights here, and I kind of just start playing around with what looks good. I mean, this is just kind of the fun part, exploration, you know?
Yeah, well, and like you could really test out different vibes and stuff, and this is where I have the most amount of fun when I'm editing photos too. Is like, okay, how do I want the highlights? Do I want to tint them a little warmer, a little cooler? And I do typically kind of have settings that I go back to that I've been told over time sort of give photos that I take or post. Feel like this really feels like a photo that you
edited,
that you made, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. It's like my little formulas are working, and it's created like a little bit of a I don't know, I hesitate to say a brand presence, but it's just kind of like, it's a feel that like, I don't know, it feels like me, and I really like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeff in the chat, hey Adobe Live, thank you for joining us, Jeff. Alessandra, good to see you again, as always. Thanks for joining and hanging out with us. If you are new and if you're just joining us, my name's Corey, I'm here with Alessandra. I'm sorry. Arabella. I was just reading the name on the screen and I'm like,
I've definitely done that before.
I'm here with Jeff.
We're here with everybody, you guys.
We're here with everybody. Everybody's here with us. And we're just editing photos.
Yeah, we're just having fun here.
Hanging out with Weekend Creative, one half of Weekend Creative.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. I love it.
Editing Palm Springs photos, making me wish that I was on vacation.
I know. I really wish I was on vacation too. I feel like, you know, there's just something about like sun and warmth and like.
Oh, there's nothing like it. I'm going back to Portland after this, and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be that gloomy. It hasn't been too gloomy yet, but going back to real life over there.
Going back to real life. Okay, and then something I also like going into the tone curve too. Sometimes like just having fun with like certain different little points here. I always like to try to make a little S when I'm editing sometimes. It depends, though. I feel like it can get real crazy real fast.
So something that I think about when I'm editing photos is like what I'm editing for.
Yeah.
And where it's going to go, where it's going to live. And so is there any particular space that you have in mind for these? Like, do you want to post them to your Instagram? Are you going to like give them to your friend as a gift for taking the photos?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think usually Instagram. Instagram's the way to go. And like, honestly, like if I just need a fresh new portrait or a new profile pic, like I'll be like, okay, I'll just, edit this and it'll be my new thing for that, So I think Instagram's always my favorite place to kind of post.
Yep.
I feel like most of our Instagram, at least my Instagram, tends to be like my work all the time, and so I rarely post me. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I should post myself so people will remember what I look like.
I know. It's easy to forget.
It's so easy to forget.
It's funny how Instagram went from being like a fun social thing to like a business thing.
Like a business thing. I know. Like I literally just over the weekend, I finally posted so much of the stuff that I've had on my iPhone for a while. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm really bad at sharing things now. Because sometimes it feels like a chore, but I know that like...
I know. Well, it's like, I don't want it to feel like a chore.
I know.
I want to just have fun again.
I know.
Alessandra says here it's sunny and chilly. Love that. Jeff says we have cool temps and fall colors in Pennsylvania. Same in Boston, Alessandra says. Yeah, Portland and Oregon in general just has really beautiful fall foliage, and it's starting to really pop off. And I'm really excited for that.
Love that.
Really excited for that. I talked about this on the previous live stream, but I'm in the process of getting a house. And
that's so exciting.
The house that I'm buying has this like giant maple tree in the backyard. And so when I was there just a couple of days ago, there were all these like beautiful fall leaves all over the floor. And I was just like, I want to move in before all like the fall leaves finish falling, because I want to really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of going into now like cropping here a little bit. Or transforming, and maybe I'll be able to kind of get away with going in a little bit more, and then it'll make it easier for me to retouch this little guy over here in the corner. Do you have just like that?
Do you have like a trick for like compositions that work well for you? I mean, I know kind of like centering versus like a third of the way through.
I feel like the tricky part too is that sometimes like I love to shoot on a wide angle, and a wide angle tends to make things look like this, and then when you try to like use auto crop or like do any of these crops, like it like takes the fun out of the like the visualness of it going in.
Such a dynamic shot.
It's very dynamic, and so sometimes like I actually sometimes, depending on the composition, usually like somewhere in the middle, right? Like if like my subject's in the middle, or like, a 3/4, kind of like, is a good one too. But honestly, I think it really depends on like the image.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. I feel like.
Yeah, I do a lot of, I don't take a lot of portraits for work, but I organize a lot of portrait photo shoots for work. And so we're constantly shooting new subjects. And so I find myself almost going too often in like placing my subject on like the third line, like either the 1/3 or 2/3 line, so that they're not perfectly centered. But even that begins to feel really repetitive and like kind of boring. Yeah. And so every once in a while I'm like, okay, we gotta put someone right in the middle, or we gotta really switch it up a little bit.
And I feel like with some of these, so by the way, I'm just getting my settings here from this image so that I can kind of copy it into the rest of them. But like this is one where I would just leave it there because it looks like it looks good. Yep. Whereas this one, it's kind of fun. This one is not necessarily perfectly on the 3/4, but I like the way that the lines of this bed is going towards me. Yes. Like, everything feels like it's going in like that, and I feel like that, and even my shadow, like it just, I think it works.
Well, yeah, if you were to put yourself on the like 1/3 line, then you would. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow.
So hot.
I'm obsessed. That looks great.
Let me remove this crop because I think it also did the crop as well. I'm gonna
get rid of that crop. Get rid of that crop.
And then.
Oh, stunning.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Stunning.
Let's definitely bring the heat down a little bit. Maybe with the temp, and then we can also bring that vibrance down just slightly. Oh, there we go. Yeah. That's so pretty. Wow. I feel like I'm like almost like blending into the.
I was gonna say, and you're
But
like
in, like, a
so
really cool way.
tan, like, oh, it's perfect.
Oh, that's so fun.
That's amazing too, and like, you just copied and pasted all the work from the first image right into this one.
And then we just make some tweaks, you know, like we just kind of adjust a few things to make sure we're good. Maybe like bringing up those shadows a little bit more, those blacks a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think the whites were pretty spot on. Maybe just bring down, or the highlights. But that feels pretty good from what we were just at. I feel like it was a little extra.
Alessandra said, you're like really serving the model vibes. She
Thank
said,
you. Oh my
didn't know
gosh.
you were such a model.
Thanks, Alessandra. That's so kind of you.
Listen,
New prof pick, y'all.
well, and I'm also like, you got a good photographer. I'm like,
I mean, she's pretty incredible, you guys. She's awesome. Definitely go follow her, Rocio Rivera. She actually just did a really cool collab with, it was for Disney Pixar's Coco.
oh.
She got flown out by Shoe Palace to like go and shoot her family in Mexico.
What?
And like it was just like such a cool collab.
Oh, that's amazing.
Definitely check it out. It'll be on, if you go check out her Instagram, it'll be on there. And she's known for like photographing like, you know, tan skin, like all like our very like cultural photographer, very authentic photographer. And so there's a lot of like skin tone and like
that's
tanness
awesome.
And celebrating kind of like Mexican culture. So.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, and that's like a perfect testament too for like knowing how to photograph people who look like you and have the similar skin tones as you. I mean, that's just like really essential because like some photographers might not be as great at photographing people with darker skin or lighter skin. And so it's just, that's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool too, to be able to go and photograph your family
it's so
too.
Cool. So cool. So definitely worth checking out. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much there with this shot. I might just like crop in a little bit just because of the way, so something that you also want to, with pictures, like, finding those points of tension anywhere is helpful. Like, you know, like when you look at the edges of your images, if there's something that you feel like it could crop in a little bit more just to like get things more cropped off.
Yep, totally.
Or like I maybe should have photographed a little, or well, she photographed it, but you know, having a little bit more space so that there's not these like weird, awkward
it's just like right at the edge.
Right at the edge. So then if I bring it in like that, then it just feels a little bit more, you know, a little bit more there.
And you don't lose the effect of like still having the wider shot.
Exactly. So. And then I'm just going to rotate this even just like a little bit more just to kind of match that line in the back. And then I can just bring this in a little bit more. And there we go.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Amazing. Love that.
Okay, we have a question from Jeff.
Yes.
He says, this is awesome. I'm late to the show. Is this from Photoshop and then camera as a filter? So can you just like walk us through again?
Yes.
These were photos that your friend took.
Yes, these were photos that my friend took. We were in Palm Springs and we just had a little photo shoot. It was like the last day and we brought them in. So this was, let me show you the before and after. So here is the before, very, you know, contrasty, definitely a lot of light. Hadn't fixed kind of coloring and stuff, but I feel like I wanted them to be a little bit more, you know, just where we can see some more detail. I feel like it's just a little bit too dark. But yeah, and so we just brought them into Lightroom. We're literally just in Lightroom right now, but I'm going to bring some things over into Photoshop to kind of use some gen fill and kind of retouch some certain little things.
So Photoshop is kind of where you're going to like finish the image, if you will.
Exactly. So I'm just going to copy all these settings except for crop and transform. There we go. That way we don't affect any of the crop, and we can always do that ourselves. And I feel like it's gonna look crazy for some of these because some of them are not in the direct sunlight the way that these ones were, but we're gonna figure it out. Ooh, that already looks so good.
It does look really good.
Wow, like so much detail too.
Alessandra says, I have so many questions. Who are you wearing? Where is this and where did you get those shades?
What was this? Oh my gosh, I feel like this dress was probably from, oh gosh, I'm not going to remember right now. I have a feeling that it might have been from Zara. I feel like it's a very Zara style image. I was in Palm Springs doing a fun creative retreat with my friend, and she took these photos of me, and we were just having fun. It was just like a really lovely sunny day, and the shades, I don't even know where they're from, but like, you know, they might have been, oh gosh, I can't remember, but if I remember, I'll put it on my stories. But yeah, so these were just really fun, and we got to, I got to be on the other side of the camera for once and have some fun. Okay, that's actually one thing that I will say, so important. If you're a photographer and you want to get into portrait photography, being comfortable being in front of the camera is so key.
That is so true.
Because when you are directing somebody to do what you want to be able to show them like, what you want. So posing and all of that. So I like to like literally turn and become my like the model that I'm shooting or whoever.
Yep.
And I'll be like, I want you to do this. And I'll literally put myself in that pose. And so it's kind of like you have to be comfortable with the modeling aspect because it helps so much with how to direct. Portraiture.
That's so real. I mean, I don't love portrait photography because I don't feel confident giving like art direction.
Sure.
Like I get in my head about it, or I'm like not super comfortable like asking for what I want or what I think will look good. And so like you said, kind of getting in front of the camera and being willing to like just do it yourself is where I have found a little bit more of that strength.
Yeah.
Because it can be really tricky having a vision and then directing it, translating it into reality is so that you can get the shot that you want.
Totally. So I think it's just important to kind of get a little bit comfortable and just, I don't know, like get your other photographer friends and like have turns like photographing each other. And I feel like it just helps,
Yep.
in that area. So cool. So yeah, this is a vibe. I love it. Most of these are working out pretty well. I might just like increase that a little bit. I kind of want to keep some of the contrast there. That looks awesome.
I really like this one too because your face is a little bit more obscured.
Yes.
It creates a nice set with the others because the others you're directly looking at the camera. You're kind of like really close to the camera, and whereas this is like, okay. Now she's like, oh, she's moving away.
Yeah.
There's a little mystery.
Like, what's happening? Where's she going?
The doorway?
Yeah, there's like a little bit of story there. Like, what's, you just want to know what's going on. So, yeah, I think this is looking really good. Ooh, okay, this one's great. This one was definitely a little bit overexposed, so I just need to bring it down a little bit. But that looks stunning. I love just like the rhythm of this. I think this was like a little chair or like a little bench or something. I mean, we could Gen fill that too and see what happens. We might see what happens. It might do something cool and maybe it'll. I don't know. I like the element there.
Yeah,
it's not.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either.
And like the difference in texture and material is kind of nice. It adds a little variation, and it's like you said, you've got that sort of like really smooth contour of the architecture, then your like organic arm.
Exactly.
And then again, the geometric shape of the wooden bench. It's all just like a very nice composition still.
Yeah. And of course, like I'm keeping this like the regular 2x3, but obviously if I'm going to be sharing this on Instagram, like I will, like it'll probably end up looking more like this.
Yeah,
which,
God. It's too bad that we have to do that.
I know. It is.
Like, it was so beautiful.
I know.
It's still beautiful, but I'm just like, merp.
I know. I will say that, like, I usually don't try to crop my images into that 4x5 yet. I do that I actually do that in Instagram. Just because then I can adjust where, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, and you don't want to, like, sometimes I find myself building the photo around that crop, which kind of annoys me because I'm like, now I'm building it around Instagram as opposed to like building it around the way that I want the photo to be.
Exactly.
Have you, just curious, if I getting pushed this like version of Instagram that now people's grids are 4x5 instead of squares. And so I think that they're starting to update it where we no longer have square grids.
Wow.
So I now have like a portrait orientation grids. All the grids I see are portrait orientation.
I feel like I always on Instagram get the last minute upgrade. Like everything
They're
comes
like...
to me so last. I'm like, it should just be a blanket like thing that everybody gets the new update or upgrade.
You're like, Doc, where is it?
Yeah, I'm like, you guys, what's happening?
Yeah, but I was talking to my coworkers about it, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, yeah, like, we should probably reformat some of our carousels and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, huh? And so, anyway, fun little preview, I guess. I think that it's coming.
Okay. That's so interesting. I so, like, Instagram is so tied to, like, that square. Like, I do enjoy that, like, now we have the 4x5 element and the horizontal and all that.
So much.
So fun.
But yeah, even like breaking
I'm so
away
used
from the
to
square.
that. Wow.
Well, and let me tell you,
fascinating.
the profiles, they look better without the square. Like, it is nice to
Yeah.
like not need to worry about it cropping so tight
that's true.
anymore. And so
That's
it's like,
true.
there's no reason why to
That
not
is so
have it.
true. Okay, so I realized that I did not retouch the sky the way that I did in the other one, so I'm going to do that really quickly. And I think I pushed it a little bit more of that blue. Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
So that looks good. And I mean, this is so simple. It's literally just going into the mask, selecting the sky, and it immediately like knows like, oh, cool, there it is.
So nice.
And then I'm just using my point color to kind of select that color only. And then I'm adjusting that. That's so cute.
Oh, perfect. And the way your green dress with the
I
plant
know,
behind
it's just
you.
great. I mean, I also meant to do the yellow, but I'm not going to worry about that right now.
Yeah,
It's going to
it's
take too long.
Oliver Andrews said, I create virtual copies in Lightroom for the various sizes of sites like Instagram. Then I can crop them in Lightroom. I think I'm understanding that correctly, but
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
You know what else I've been playing around with on Instagram too is like those apps that help you make a carousel like slide
Yep.
through.
Yep,
I've been
yep.
playing with that too, just because I don't know, there's
Yeah.
something dynamic about telling
you
a
like
story
those?
that way. All of my recent posts within the last couple of years have all been carousel because I like can share more,
Yes.
you know.
I
But I
will-
just wish that the icon wasn't there in the main profile, you know. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the one
I
that
do know what
says
you
like,
mean.
oh, this is a carousel post. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
just remove that.
I know,
Why do
I'm
we
like,
need
get
that?
rid of
You
it.
know?
We don't need
There's
it.
no point. Yeah.
No, I like a carousel, but I'm curious, do you
Mm-hmm.
like those sites that do sort of like the layouts for you? I've never used one before.
I like to make my own layouts.
Okay, that's
Like
what
I'll
I
just
usually
make
do.
my own. I
Yes.
won't like choose a template or anything.
Same.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. I know, I think maybe it's just because we're like creative people.
I
We're
think
like,
so.
I need more control
We're like,
than
no,
that.
we need the control. Yeah, we're like control freaks.
I'm like, this layout doesn't work for me.
Exactly. Cool. Okay, we're almost there, you guys. Let's see. There's just like a sliver of that right there. But, you know.
I know, I'm like, it's
I'm
like,
like, is it even there? Okay, but in here, okay, so this is another thing that I love to do.
okay, yeah.
So in this image, this still feels very blown out to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to get a little linear gradient and just do this kind of thing
Yep.
here so that I can adjust further the exposure, the highlights, the whites, and that already looks a lot better
Oh, yeah.
too. Just because it was like feeling, like now it feels like it's more, I don't know. It just looks like it's part of it better. There you go. Even like that was good.
Yeah, that's so nice. I was curious how you were going to edit this photo, and this is a thing that I always come up against where I see a photo, and this one was really dark before you edited it. Edited it. And
Yeah.
and I was like, oh no, it's too dark. And then I move on, and I forget sometimes that there's like really simple, easy tweaks that you can do.
I mean, I feel like when it comes to, like, sometimes there's some good in shooting underexposed.
Yeah.
Because you have so, especially if you're shooting raw, right? You
Yeah.
have so much information that you can work
Yeah.
with, and you can really bring that up. Especially on hot days like this, or like where, you know, these pockets are like really just blown out. Having the detail kept there still is important.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, normally maybe you would look at this and be like, oh, that's too
Yeah.
dark. Like, it's not going to be a good one. But, like, I mean, that's pretty.
No, you've still
That's
got
awesome.
it. Like, that's a gorgeous photo, and all you needed to do is just lighten
Yeah,
things up.
and just lighten things up. Now, here, maybe I would kind of go in here and remove certain things, you know, if I found them distracting. Like maybe even just all this, you know. But yeah, I
if
mean,
this was like a very like polished magazine shoot, then like I could see you wanting to get rid of some of that stuff. That's a really interesting chair too. I kind of like that.
yeah, it's super fun. So this is one of those where like, okay, like if I were to go in and like auto, like, you know, have it fix, like, does that, I don't know, there's something about that doesn't look right to me.
No,
You
it
know?
doesn't, and it's dynamic.
It's so
the way
dynamic that I don't
is.
want to, like, you know, I don't know. I guess I could go off of this, this here, and then maybe like crop in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And maybe that would work. Yeah, that could kind of work.
It doesn't. It hasn't like lost all of its.
It hasn't lost all of its effect.
But like
But also, like, I don't know. There's just something about it being that way that's
yeah,
fun. And maybe I
totally.
would just go and, like, you know,
Touch it up a
touch
little
up
bit.
a little bit. Yeah. It's kind of funky. Like, I feel like
Yes.
with wide ankle, you just have to like accept
Yeah.
the funkiness.
Well, and that's my thing too, is I get it so like obsessed with perfecting it. Like we said, either touching things up or making sure it's perfectly straight that you lose the personality of the photo.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a case where it's like some of the personality is in that.
Exactly. And maybe I just need to crop it in, and there we go. Yeah,
Yep.
see?
Easy
So
peasy.
good. Yeah, that's awesome. That looks great. Okay, and then honestly, I don't think I'm gonna use this one. I feel like this one's not the vibe with the rest of them. So I think I'll just do it with these. That's perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into Photoshop. Hopefully, I knew this was gonna happen. This was happening to me yesterday, you guys.
What is that?
I don't know why, but like my Photoshop has been doing, or like the connection between Lightroom and Photoshop, like it'll be like weird and it'll be like,
Okay.
uninstall. So while we do that, I'm gonna uninstall it and install it. Thankfully it does it really fast.
Okay.
So let's see if that happens. Troubleshooting, you guys.
Yep, this is just another day in the life.
Another
of
day
a,
in the life, you know.
of
There's a
a
lot of new things
creative.
happening in Photoshop that I'm like, okay, you know, something's going on. But
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of new things, especially with the upcoming.
I know.
I
am
keep
so
wanting to say
excited.
festival, which is weird and annoying. It's a conference.
It
not
is a
festival.
conference. Wait, people call it a festival?
Well, no, they don't. I'm for some reason calling it
Oh.
a festival, and I'm like, I need to stop doing that because it's not what it is. I'm like, I need to.
It's because we're festival goers, so we're just like.
It's not correct. But there will be a ton of new features coming in for a lot of the Creative Cloud apps,
Oh,
but
okay,
also
here.
for
I need-
Photoshop.
Yeah. Okay.
Are
There we go.
Are we in
We're good.
business?
We're
Okay.
we're in business. I just needed to close it.
Did it really just like install that quickly?
No. I had to close it to uninstall it, and then I'll
Oh,
uninstall
okay.
it. Yeah. No, but it's usually pretty quick actually. Like it's pretty awesome. But anyway, so okay, the other thing too that's interesting, and maybe let's try it out while we're loading, is that with the remove tool, there's now the generative AI in here as well for Lightroom Classic.
Yes.
So we could try it out in here, and maybe it'll do a good job. We don't know. So let's try it.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's-
usually like Gen Fill in Photoshop more.
Yep.
But I think I've always liked the cleanup tools and the retouching tools in Photoshop more than in Lightroom.
Yes,
But
I
I know
agree.
that Lightroom has been catching up a little bit, and I'm
Yep.
like, okay, this, you know, for like small things that like, you know, you don't need to go into Photoshop
Yep.
for, like it might be fine.
small things, but you know, like Lightroom is primarily for editing photos in a specific way. Photoshop is like more built for
Yeah.
more of the filling
Yeah,
and the generating
exactly.
and stuff. Looks like we've got some new people in the chat.
Ooh.
Ted Chin, Andrew.
Aw, Ted.
There was another person who I just saw, but I don't remember what their name was. Well,
Okay.
Andrew Drew was in the YouTube chat too. Thanks for joining us.
Yay. Okay, let's try this out. Let's see if it knows what we want it to do.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so I have made sure that I have the generative fill, or generative remove checked, and let me make sure that all of that is selected. Okay, so now we just hit apply, and then it's generating,
God,
and
edge of my
I guess
seat.
we will see what's gonna happen.
Come on.
I know.
I believe.
Oh,
No, I believed too hard. It
we
didn't
believe
work.
too hard.
Dang it.
See, it just doesn't. It's just
Yeah.
not there yet. I think for other little things, sure.
If there was like a little
maybe-
bird in the
Maybe
sky.
if it was
or-
like just this or something, you know, where it's like, okay, will it get that? Probably. You know, it's like simple enough.
Come on.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh, poor thing. It's just not going.
confused.
It's confused. Maybe because I'm doing like object aware or something.
Yeah, there's sometimes it's just like
it's like certain little things.
yeah, little nuances, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I forgot
and
to
I'm
turn
like,
that off.
Hello. So we'll see. Okay. Yeah, it's not going today. I don't know what it is. Maybe my generative AI is just not being my friend today.
It's tired.
I know. It's working too hard.
It said it's
Okay.
Thursday, and I
It's-
want it to be the weekend.
Literally.
I've had a long week.
I know. Okay. Well, then that's why we go to Photoshop, because
Exactly.
that is our jam. Okay. Perfect. It downloaded. We're good. Now let's just let's give this a little quit and a restart just in case, because I don't want it to give me that same thing again.
Give
But
that Gen I
I
a
know.
nice little reset.
it's just, you know, it's working so hard. Okay, there we go. That should do it. So hopefully it does. Also, hi, a photo that
beautiful.
Ellie and I took.
Oh my gosh.
For a fun personal project.
I also didn't know Chobani made coffee creamer, but now I'm
Really?
hungry. No.
You have to try them. They're delish.
God. Oh, I bet
so
it's
delicious.
amazing because I do love Chobani.
Oh, Chobani is so great. I love them.
This is a beautiful photo.
Thank you so much. Oh
You
my
said
gosh.
this was a personal project?
Yeah, this was a personal project. We try to do test shoots as often just so that we can like
Yes.
get, trying new techniques, try different lighting things.
I'm like, Chobani, if you're listening.
I mean, truly.
I'm like,
Do
hello.
you want to buy the photos?
You should. You should buy the photos. You should hire them. If anyone has a contact at Chobani.
I know, right?
Actually, I have a contact at Chobani. I
Stop.
just realized.
Shut up.
Yeah, I met the CEO recently.
Shut up.
Yeah, he came to Stanford and he did a talk and
That's amazing.
was his
Yay,
name?
it worked.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You guys, I should have figured this out this morning because it was happening to me yesterday and I'm like, why is it being weird?
Yeah,
But
it's some of these things you
sometimes,
can't plan for.
You can't plan for it. But hey, we'll send over that contact, baby.
Let me just boop 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 boop.
Boop, boop, boop. Okay, you guys, let's watch the real show, which it's Jenfil. Jenfil's my best friend, like my best friend. It always does what I want, most of the time. Sometimes it takes a second generation, but it's usually really good. So let's just give it a go. No prompt, because when you want to remove something,
That's what I do.
you don't need a prompt.
I've had
You don't need
people-
to add remove.
No,
You don't need to,
I've had people like be like, "Don't do that," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, why though? Because it works. Like it just worked.
Slow clap.
Like
Yeah, amazing. Wow, love it. Done.
so. There you go.
Easy. Gonna merge that down, gonna save it, and then it'll save back into here as the new version. Beautiful. Love it.
Seamless.
So seamless.
Flawless.
Yeah, so now let's see, what else do we want to remove? Or how about this? What if we want to generative expand? Let's do a generative
that
expand.
would be fun. Okay.
Maybe for this one, actually.
I'd be
Maybe it
curious
feels
to
like
see
we're
how.
too close in.
Uh-huh.
And like, if it'll like do my elbow right.
Yeah, I'm like
You know?
a little worried about your elbow. I'm like, maybe we just expand the right side, the top and the right. But I don't know. Let's see.
Let's just see. I don't know. Maybe it'll do something really cool. So by that, okay, so we got to do the original ratio there, and then making sure that we have our fill, generative expand selected.
This does feel like it's going to be a tough one.
It's
does
gonna
feel
be,
like it's gonna
well,
a tough
just
one,
maybe
but
I'll be surprised. I don't know.
I don't know either.
You're so
We're-
scared.
We're testing. We're really testing the
We're
waters.
testing
here.
the waters
Oh,
here.
you're going for the bottom
Oh, I'm
too?
going for all of it.
Oh my god. All the angles, all four corners. I thought we had decided generative AI was having a sleepy day
A
today.
rough day. No, she's been working. She's back. She has had her coffee.
She's back. Well, let's see what she does to you. Don't speak too soon. It's you in this photo.
I know.
Okay.
All right. Well, I have good faith in Jenfil. So let's see. Are you
Shut up.
kidding me?
I'm like trying not
Are
to
you
swear right
kidding
now.
me?
That's what's like, literally.
You guys,
Can you-
maybe I just needed a little bit of space. Like maybe I just,
No, I'm shook. It's actually like criminal. I don't even understand
This
it.
one they did the second one. The elbow's pretty good. I feel like this is the best one as far as the elbow, and I like that the shadows are like really pronounced there too. Wow. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm into it.
Interesting.
I'm into it.
Oliver says generative expand is great for making photos 4x5 for Instagram
Yes.
when you don't want to crop them more.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 9x16 for stories when you don't want to crop them more.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's so smart.
That is so smart. Okay, wait. Let's try that. So if I don't want to crop them, so let's say it's.
So like you might want
What
to
about
add space
that
on the
one?
top or bottom.
Should I
Yeah.
make it a hard one, like a good one?
Well, yeah. Now we're testing it. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm
So
like, let's see what you
basically,
got.
we would need to add this way, right, for 1x1 to like not so we don't crop it.
Yep.
Okay. So.
Oh, let's go off.
Ooh,
Let's see what you
ooh,
got,
let's
generative
see.
fill, expand.
Let's see. Oh my God, such a good idea. Who said that?
That was Oliver.
Oliver.
Yeah. Oliver in the chat with the cropping things and Lightroom Classic too. I'm just like, okay.
Whoa, you guys.
Wait.
That is so
The right
good.
side's a little wonky.
The right side's a little wonky, but I feel like we could even just do another little gen fill situation, like on top of that, and see what it does. Maybe it'll do a better job. Hopefully. That's pretty good. Whoa. Okay.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Here we're like, okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, okay, we are, speaking of okays, we are coming up on time.
Oh my gosh. How did we get there so
I know,
fast?
we've been having too much fun. Mel
Too much
says,
fun.
I think, oh no, Carmen said you two make generative fill too fun. They're like, you're having too much
Okay,
fun.
there we go. Look
Stop
at that.
it. Yeah, that's
Oh,
good.
there we go. That's the one.
Done.
Done.
For
Done
Instagram.
and done.
Okay,
Great job, Oliver.
You're my new best friend.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
you're
I'm
so
obsessed.
smart.
That was really smart. And it also, Mel says I use it to expand for web banners all the time. Almost nothing is that size to begin with.
Yep.
And then Jacob said, I used this the other day for square prints to make sure there's enough bleeds. So useful.
Yes.
Why?
So,
See,
wow.
I'm like, why does this
Love it.
not occur to me most of the time? I just,
I mean, I'm
ashamed.
I don't know, but like now we have all this space to work with, and now I have more flexibility with cropping this
there
way.
you go.
So amazing.
Wow.
So there you go. There's hopefully some tips and techniques for
Okay. Well,
fixing up your portraits.
So you've done a beautiful job with these portraits.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Oh my gosh,
it
thank
looks
you.
like you're going to be hosting Jesus coming up next.
That's right.
In just a couple minutes.
Woo-hoo.
It looks like he's going to talk us through the new features that have been added since last year's Adobe MAX.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're joining us, make sure you stick around. I will also be doing a live stream at 12 p.m.
Yay.
Hosted by Jesus again. So stick around. It's been awesome hanging out with you.
Oh my gosh,
And
so
Generative
much
Phil,
fun.
our new best friend.
Jen Phil is our best friend.
And I will see you guys very soon.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
This class is all about the adjustment brush. We're gonna open up this portrait. I wanna show you guys the 3-dot icon here, which is the edit toolbar panel. The adjustment brush is right here. Also, one of the other new features is the selection brush. So those are the two new brushes inside of Photoshop. The big deal is that you can create an adjustment simply by painting over an image. It's just a little dark under his eyes there, so maybe I can fix that by going into the adjustment brush tool. So you'll notice that from the adjustment dropdown, we have all the adjustments here. So I can just simply choose curves, and I'm just going to paint over that area like so. I can now come in and make further adjustments. Notice how when you adjust the curves adjustment layer, you inadvertently add saturation to the image. You can just click on the drop down menu here and choose luminosity. So look at the difference between luminosity and normal. See how it gets darker without increasing the saturation. So for me, one of the best tools is the spot healing brush tool. I recommend that you create a brand new layer and click on sample all layers. For example, if I wanted to minimize the wrinkle here, what I like to do is use the modes. These are basically blending modes. If this blemish, distraction, wrinkle, whatever it is that you're trying to remove or minimize, is it darker than the skin tone or lighter than the skin tone?
Okay.
So in this case is darker. Right?
It's a
So you
shadow.
want to lighten it. And then when we paint, we didn't destroy any of the texture. What I can do now is press Control-Shift-F, brings us into the fade command. Now this is very, very important. You will not have access to the fade command if you do anything else in Photoshop after applying that spot healing removal. So it needs to be done immediately after you make that adjustment. It's got an opacity slider, so notice how I can just reduce the opacity. See that? So now I still have my skin texture. I still have the highlights intact. It's still there. You can still tell that it's him, but it's not as intense and not as distracting. And there you go. Before and after. So I was just in Rome like a week ago. You know, there's a lot of tourists in Rome, so you can use GenFill to remove tourists from a photo. This is the old workflow, right? Lasso tool, make a selection, click on Generator Fill, and generate. The new workflow is the selection brush tool. I'll use the bracket keys to adjust my brush size, and I can very quickly come in here, and I can just click on Generator Fill, leave the prompt blank, and generate. And there you go. Fantastic results. Look at that. Then you can just, keep doing that over and over again. Notice that I don't really have to switch tools or anything. I can just come in here. Usually what I do, by the way, is I put everything into a smart object to work non-destructively. For those of you that don't know, a smart object is a container that can hold one or more layers where you can apply non-destructive adjustments, distortions, filters, and transformations. What does that mean? It just means you can keep changing it, and it's cool. You can always go back. What I like doing is going into Camera Raw Filter, the geometry tool, this one here, easier. I usually just click on auto and see if it fixes the perspective, and it does. See that? It just makes it seem so much flatter, right? Isn't that cool?
Well, Jesus, this has been amazing. You have shown us tip after tip and walked us through all of the latest and greatest in Photoshop. So thank you so much for being here and for everything that you've shown us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another amazing Adobe Live session. We are here with Jesús Ramirez. My name's Arabella.
Wow.
And we're just going to have a blast.
I feel so honored you pronounced my name properly.
Oh, yes. We
Jesús
pronounce
Ramirez.
it Jesús Ramirez. Okay. And my name is Arabella Espinosa.
Arabella
If we're
Espinosa.
really going,
Yeah,
if we're really going
leaning,
there.
leaning in hard.
Leaning in hard,
yeah.
you know, we're almost at Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los
So I
Muertos,
feel
that's
like
right.
I'm in that like cultural, just like honoring my culture, you know,
Yeah.
and all the things. Do you have a little ofrenda when you?
So when I was a kid, we used to go down to, because I grew up in Mexico. So
Oh, yeah.
we used to go down to visit my mother's grandmother, who I never met, you
yeah.
know, so.
That's so lovely.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, well, I'm so excited for this fun stream, and
Yeah.
I get to be the one hosting you. And it's been a really, really long time since I hosted you.
Yes.
Like years ago. This was like pre-pandemic. And in doing that, in talking about that, Jesus has a really fun thing to show you guys. But before we dive into that, say hi and tell us where you're watching from. Tell us if you're going to Max. Hopefully we'll see you there. And yeah, I don't know if you want to show us that
Yeah,
cute little
so-
throwback.
so
TBT.
I'll,
It's
uh,
Thursday too.
Oh yeah, TV. Yeah, that's
TBT,
right.
y'all.
So just to set the scene, we've been talking about how we were doing Adobe Live together, and the first time, I think the only time you hosted me,
Yes.
and I don't remember if I hosted you. Maybe
I
have.
don't know if you've hosted me.
But we for sure worked together like
Yes.
in 2019, 2018. And
Yes.
we're like, oh my God, that's such a long time. And I started talking about the first time I did Adobe Live, and I have a photo of it right here with
You
Paul
guys.
Tranny and Sean,
Oh my
Sean
God.
Dugan.
Sean.
And it was September 30th, 2016.
Wow.
That's a long time ago.
That is a really long time ago.
And that was not this studio, it was a studio down the street. And back in those days, so that stream right there is when we were doing the really long streams, like 6 hours.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was nuts.
And I thought that the 2-day, 2-hour ones
Yeah.
were like a lot, but
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so shout outs to Paul Tranny
Shout out.
and Sean Dugan. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I already see so many amazing people in here. Ray, Mel, some folks that were already here from the previous stream. Yes. I'm so excited for Max. It's
Yeah.
going to be such an exciting one. Last year was my first Max. I don't
Really?
know.
That was your
Yeah,
first
it was
one?
my first Max.
Wow.
And I feel like it was like such a high being around so many of our creative friends that we knew online and all of that. So you guys definitely make sure to register, even if you want to just join online. There's going to be so many awesome sessions. And yeah, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about it, but
Yeah, so the website is right behind us, and there it is. October 12th and 13th is the pre-con. I'll be there on the 12th, so I fly to Miami tomorrow.
Love it.
I noticed somebody was from Missouri in the chat. I can no longer see the name, but so I live in Missouri now. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I no
That's
longer
right.
live
Yes.
here. I
Yes,
grew up
right.
here in San Francisco, but anyway. Lisa says, "Nice haircut." Lack of
Aw.
haircut is not that it's been cut; it hasn't been cut. But anyway, so I'm in San Francisco today, flying to Missouri tonight. Tomorrow at noon,
my
I fly to
gosh.
Miami. And on the 12th, I'm doing a pre-con with Lisa Carney. Lisa's
Love
pre-con
it.
is on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. And Lisa and I, who is in the chat, are doing a session on movie posters. And actually, just now that I'm
I'm so excited.
talking about it, I'm just gonna like scroll down until I see
do it.
either Lisa or myself, and then I'm just gonna
Perfect.
go. Last names, right? Is that what it? Yep. Under.
There we go.
Oh, did I just pass myself?
Oh.
Yep, there I am.
There you are.
With I don't know if a better haircut, but with a haircut.
Great portrait. Great portrait.
So I'm doing all these sessions at Max, and this one right here I'm doing with my good friend Lisa Carney, and we're going to be talking about how we create movie posters together. We collaborate all the time, so that will happen on Monday.
Love it.
1 p.m. Eastern time, Miami time, but you can watch it online. So make sure that you check it out. And not just me, there's a bunch of other people presenting. A bunch of good friends of ours will be there presenting. I'm not going to be able to remember everybody, but Andrew is presenting.
Yes, Ted.
Ted
is
Chin
presenting.
Oh,
yeah. So exciting. Lots of great
Magdiel
people.
Lopez.
Yes, Magdiel. Oh.
I'm doing a session with him. Everybody. So check it out.
It's going to be a blast, you guys. So, yes, make sure to register so you can see everything online if you are not going to be going. But otherwise, if you are going, please say hi. We're going to be there.
Yeah, please.
It's going to be so much fun. So,
I'll just make sure to ask Adobe to have my blue M&Ms ready to go and no other colors at my private suite.
I would love it.
I wish I had a private suite.
Okay, so tell us what you're going to be sharing with us.
Yeah,
for this
so
stream.
we're going to talk about obviously Photoshop. Adobe MAX is here, as we've been discussing.
Master
Oh,
of
thank you
Photoshop
so
here.
much. And I was just going to talk about some of the tools that were released at last MAX and how they've been improved thus far, and maybe a couple other fun tips and tricks.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
Cool.
And they have improved so much, too. I feel like Adobe's just working around the clock just to make things better. And I feel like I've seen such a major improvement from all of the things. I mean, from Gen Fill to, just all of it. It's so exciting. So very, very fun.
Very, very fun. So why don't we, I'm just going to pin this thing to the bottom here. So I like to pin my taskbar because sometimes it's like
Sometimes
on
it
the
gets
way.
in the way.
And it's so annoying.
It does.
So I just like to just pin it in the middle-ish there at the bottom.
I should start doing that.
Yeah. So
I mean, sometimes it can be like useful, but sometimes when you're selecting things and you're like, oh my God, you're like right where I need to like next click.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
And actually, just before we get going, so this is a new installation of Photoshop. I just updated it. The new beta came out, because I don't use this laptop all the time. This is my presentation laptop. So then, anyway, so it hasn't been updated, and I updated it last night. And I'm realizing two things. Number one is that I can't see the bottom of the toolbar, so I'm going to click on this icon here so that it puts it in two columns so I can see everything. There's a couple other buttons there. I'm probably not going to use them, but I still want to be able to see them, and I want you guys to see what's there. And also, more importantly, we don't have the banana tool, which is my favorite tool. So to add the banana tool to your toolbar, go into the edit toolbar menu, hold the shift button and click on done, and now we have a banana in the toolbar, and that's how I like to work with the banana.
Oh my gosh.
So I needed to get that in there.
Gotta have the potassium.
Yes, potassium, that's correct.
love
Kids,
that so
make
much.
sure
I
you
need
get
to
your
add that.
potassium. It's better when you add it. Oh, there we go. Here we go. There we go. You have your own. You have the real
Now I
thing.
have a real thing.
You have the real thing.
Perfect. A little midstream snack,
Yeah. It's better when you do it when people are not watching. So at work, at school, make sure that you add the banana to your friend's toolbar. It'll freak them out. So things that have been released since last Max. One of the things that came out last Max that quite honestly I don't see almost anyone talking about is the parametric filters. So those are these guys right here under the filter menu called parametric filters, and they're much like the old, or not even older, but not that much older than the
the filter
than the
gallery,
substance materials actually. So Substance Materials are these guys here that work with the 3D applications from Adobe. Substance, if you don't know about that, check out all the Substance applications, but these are some of the materials that you can apply to the 3D elements. And basically what you do is you click on a material and it applies that material to your image, and you have all these different settings that you can apply to that material. Obviously that completely destroy the image, which is not what we want, but the new thing in the last Max was the parametric filters. Basically the same thing, but they interact with your image. So you click on parametric filters, this is what you get, and you can just click on, I don't know, we'll click on, the one that I like is the vintage here.
Ooh.
which is why I chose that photo.
Oh, yeah.
And you can apply, the first thing to note is you have the resolution. Usually I like to work with draft, so it just looks really not that good. But then when you're done, just change it to like ultra. That way you can adjust the settings faster.
Ooh.
So we'll leave it at
Wow.
draft, and then there's presets, low contrast, high contrast, whatever you want to do. But the point is that you have all these different settings, and you can adjust them any way that you want to get a cool vintage look. You can also adjust the vignette intensity or opacity and all that good stuff. Now, what happens if you go back into filter and choose parametric filters and then click on, say the chromatic aberration? It completely changes it.
Whoa.
But how can you mix them? Well, you can go into filter, neural filters, but this time you have to hold down a key. Oops, I clicked on neural filters. Let me skip the tour and cancel that. And actually, you can tell that this is a new installation because the filters haven't been installed.
Right.
Yeah. Filters, parametric filters, not neural
I
filters. You can hold the Alt key on Windows, that's the Option key on the Mac, and again, I'll go into the vintage and I'll click on that. So now it adds the vintage on top of that. So
Wow.
these are some of this is a tool that I just don't see a lot of people using, and you can create some
There's
really
so many cool effects that you can come up with.
You can experiment with
and
that.
use like blending modes to kind of like layer things and kind of get to your own.
And I'm glad you
effect.
mentioned blending modes, because right now you'll notice here that this is essentially a smart filter. I mean, it is
Right,
a smart filter,
right.
not essentially is what it is. I wish they kind of would label it, like
Right, like what was
which one I
used.
chose, like the little parentheses or something, But we know that the first one that I added was the
Adobe,
chromatic
are you
aberration. Yeah. I wonder if there's someone from Adobe here listening.
I know, right?
Yeah. And then we added the old photo effect, right?
ISIS is asking, so this is still in beta Photoshop.
So let me be very clear. What I'm
Yes.
showing right now, it has been in the full release of Photoshop since last year. So this is not beta Photoshop. However, I am working on Photoshop beta at the moment, but this is in the general release as of last year.
Yeah. Lisa says parametric filters are a great hidden gem.
Yes. So, much like layers, parametric filters are affected by how they're stacked on top of each other, right? So if I drag the one here at the bottom, which is the chromatic
that
aberration to the
changes
top, it should change it. Yep. Did I not do it?
Yeah.
Let me try it again.
Yeah.
There we go. Now
There
I
we
did.
go. Yeah.
So it does change how it affects the image. You can always double click on it and then continue adjusting it. So what I'll
Sure.
do here is maybe, I don't know, reduce the intensity a little bit so it's not so intense, and it looks more like, just like an old photo, really,
yes. That's fun.
And I don't know, maybe
What
we
a
just
fun
need
effect.
just a little bit.
Just like
right?
a tiny bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we did that earlier, Arabella, or Arabella. You
Arabella.
mentioned blending modes, right?
Yes.
So you not only have blending modes in layers, you also have them in the smart filters. You see this little doohickey, this little icon thing here on the
Yes.
right? When you double click on that, it brings up this window. This is essentially the fade command. I'll explain what the fade command is later. But basically, you can reduce the opacity of that particular filter, or you can change the blending mode. So I can change the blending mode to like overlay, and then you can see how it
yes, how it
applies
affects it.
right? And you can spend all day
Oh my gosh.
playing with this, right?
So fun.
Just really quickly, because I mentioned it, fade command. So whatever you do in Photoshop, I'm just gonna do something really, really simple, but brushstroke, right? As soon as you do that command, if you go into edit and fade,
Oh, yes.
or better yet, Shift Control F on Windows, Shift Command F on the Mac, it brings up the same window.
The
You can
fade, yeah.
reduce the opacity of that last command and change the blending mode in some cases, not with everything, of that command, of that adjustment that you made. So it's a really good tool to use when you apply anything into Photoshop.
Yeah.
And smart filters have that just by clicking on this icon here.
That's awesome.
The difference is with the filters, you don't have to. So fade command only works immediately after you apply.
Immediately after,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Even if you save the image, it doesn't work. So
I
let me
see.
show you what I mean by that.
Okay.
So 2 tips here in one. So when you create, you make an adjustment, whatever you make, right? You see this little icon right here. That's it's the little
little
asterisk.
asterisk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means the document is not saved, right?
Okay.
So you press Control S. Now that it's saved, the asterisk is gone, right?
Got it.
But when you do something else, well, that's not saved. So now it's telling me this document's not saved.
I had no idea about that. That's totally new for me.
But the point is that
Good reminder.
yeah, the point is that the fade command is there
Is
because
there.
I haven't made any adjustments. But if I save, even by saving,
Right, by saving it
won't even
removes that.
it won't even
Yeah.
be there.
I know I've definitely used the fade tool for sure whenever I've added like grain from like, cause I don't know why, but like with grain, adding grain in Photoshop, the noise doesn't give me that nice grain. So I like to go into camera raw, but I usually do a copy merge and then make that a smart object. And then I add the grain from camera raw.
Yeah, all right. Well, you made me think of
You know
something.
what I mean?
So what I usually
Real
do,
quick, somebody asked, Apurva, Jesus, any idea how to activate the parametric filters?
they should be active.
They should
if
be active
you have
already?
Photoshop 2020. What version are we on? 24. Yeah. They should be
Okay.
active. You have Photoshop 2024.
Because I almost wonder, because I haven't seen those, so I almost wonder if I need to like turn
no,
on
there
something
might be
in-
some hardware minimum requirements that you may have to meet.
Oh,
So something I recommend is if you are using the latest in best version of Photoshop, just type in on Google like
Oh,
Photoshop.
got him. She says.
Oh, there you go.
Nice, there we go.
Photoshop minimum requirements, and then right here, you will be able to see like what the minimum requirements are, and then in some cases it'll tell you something like, oh, if you don't meet this requirement, then these tools won't work. But then just scroll through
Sure.
here and see what you required, and if you don't meet those requirements, some things may not show up.
Sure. Okay.
Cool.
Smart.
But yeah, so you mentioned something that I do all the time. So I'm just gonna like start from scratch. So this is what you mentioned, and I completely agree. You said that by going into like filter and noise, that doesn't look that good. Right?
Add noise,
it doesn't work. And I
it
agree.
just doesn't. The grain doesn't
Yeah.
look good, and there's not many options for like the way that in camera raw has all the like.
I agree
1,000%.
1,000%. So
100%.
filter, camera raw filter.
Which is surprising. I feel like there should be like a better grain situation. Maybe we'll get that.
Maybe
for this
we'll
next
get that.
month. I don't know.
Yeah. So you can increase, as you said, you can increase the grain size
And it looks
and
good,
the roughness.
too,
It looks
like,
much better, and then also,
cleaner.
it just looks much better. And then you can adjust it so that it's rough, less rough,
Yes,
whatever
yes.
size, and all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I love that as well. What I like to do though is I don't always use camera raw depending on what I'm doing. What I do instead is
show us.
is create a new layer.
Okay.
If you press the if you fill with 50% gray, shift backspace brings up the fill window, and then you can just choose 50% gray, which is just the halfway point between white and black, right in the middle, no color. Press OK, and then go into camera raw filter. Why there it is, camera raw filter. I'm like right on it. I know you're there. I can just, oops, that's the texture. That's not the grain. The grain is right here. It's just down here. I just increased the grain, just how I usually like it, whatever the settings are. And all I really do now is just define that as a pattern. And the reason that I do that is that it's just now saved, right? It's always there. So then I can just come in here, create a pattern, and then it's it's there, and then change the
smart.
blending mode to like overlay or soft light, whichever one you
I
want. It's the
see.
same thing. Overlay is just a little more intense. So we'll just, for the sake of us being able to see it, I'll choose overlay, and there you go.
Yeah,
and of course you
yeah.
have the
That's cool.
opacity
option
or
to like bring it down.
right.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason I love the grain, but let's just assume that the grain's too much on his face.
Right.
You always have a layer mask, right? And then you can just paint with black to hide that effect over his face, and now it affects everything
only
else
around it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and not only that, so maybe we're working on this document, it's all great, and you know what, we need to just expand it. Client comes back in, and now the image needs to be larger for whatever reason. Since we're working with a pattern, it doesn't really matter, right? Because the pattern just it extends and this
I see.
So
Okay.
that's what
Very
I like.
cool.
I like doing.
Yeah, that's smart. I didn't ever think of doing that.
Instead.
Lately, if I ever want to add texture, I'll actually gen fill random textures, like paper texture or
cool,
this or
yeah,
that, and
yeah.
use that in blending mode and stuff for that. But like that is smart about saving the pattern, because I think you don't always want to go into camera raw, but like,
and sometimes you want to keep things editable in the layer stack.
Yeah, and like with camera raw, you have to make sure that you like do it on its own separate layer, but it has to be like a copy merge thing or something. You know what I mean? It's like such a weird thing.
So
Alessandra, what does the banana do?
it makes you look cool. Clearly. See how cool she looks with that banana?
Cool. Just, you know.
Yeah. Also, another fun keyboard shortcut, function F12 reverts the image to the last point it was saved, or when it was open. So the reason it didn't go back to my original image now is because we saved. Remember how we were saving earlier?
Right.
So Photoshop took me back to the last save point. If I want to go back to how the image looked like when it was open, you can go into Window, History, and just scroll to the very, very top and click on, on that. And then this is how the image looked when it was first open. I was going to come into this first open image for a reason because I randomly thought of something cool to show you, and now I forgot. So I'm not sure why we were going to come. Like I said earlier, at my advanced stage, I forget things.
You know, we all start to forget things at some point.
Yeah, we all definitely forget things at some point. If it comes back to me, I'll show you guys.
Yes, please do.
Let's move on to the next tool that was released in the last Adobe MAX, which is the Remove tool. The Remove tool is like super cool. I love it for so many reasons.
So good. It's so good.
So I'll show you guys how the Remove tool worked before and how it works now today in the Photoshop beta.
Yeah.
So Remove tool, it's right here. It's nested under the spot healing brush tool, Remove tool. In my opinion, the Remove tool has a better algorithm to remove things.
Way better.
Yeah, it's really good. How does it work? Well, how did it work in the past? So when I'm going to zoom in, and it's really great for like removing, like for example, like if she's got that wrinkle there, I don't like that wrinkle on her skirt, so I can just click and drag, and the Remove tool removes it automatically. I don't know why it's taking so long. It says, you see this checkbox? Oh, my computer's not. There's something going on. It says remove after each stroke. That means that as soon as I paint over something, it should remove it, but my computer's not being very helpful. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it should have done it instantly, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what the deal was there, but anyway, so that's what the Remove tool is really good for, just removing like really good things. Wow, it's really acting up. It should be like basically.
It should be quick.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do now is I'm using the beta, so sometimes with beta there could be issues.
Sure.
But this is one of the new features that I wasn't gonna show till later. But now you can choose whether to use generative AI or not. I'm just gonna leave it at off for now because last year you couldn't use generative AI with the Remove tool. And basically what you did is you painted, and then it would, still doing it. It should just remove it like automatically.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why that's happening, but it is what it is. It's a beta release.
Right. I mean,
computer says no. Yeah. Anyway, but it works, right?
It
so
does.
that's how the tool used to work. And then, maybe like I know she's got like a little something on her knee here. Whoops, that's not her knee, but like maybe like that little blemish right there. We don't like it. By the way, I just thought of another thing. This is what happens when I teach them that I have like a million ideas. So you know how we zoomed in to like correct this little like scratch he has on her knee? Something I like to do, and I'm gonna close this to better be able to show, is if I come in here, and it doesn't matter if I use a Remove tool or the spot healing brush tool or whatever I use, like it looks good, but then I have to like zoom out. Does that look good? Oh, I don't know. I may need to come in and fix it again.
Yeah.
Do I need to come out? And then just, you're doing this all day long, right?
Yeah.
So one of the pro tips that I have is that you can go into Window, Arrange, and choose New Window 4, and then it'll name the name of all your open documents. In this case, we only have the Remove tool document open. That's what I named the document. So I'll just click on that, and Photoshop opens the same document in another window, right? So I want to be very clear. This is not a different document. This is not a duplicate. This is the same exact document, but in two windows. Why do you want to do that? Might not be so obvious here, but if you have another monitor at home, you can drag one window into another into another thing.
And now you can you have both
at the same time.
Zoomed in version and
that's correct. But on a laptop, what you can do is go into Window, Arrange, and choose something like 2 up vertical. It puts them side by side. So then now I can have my 100% view, and that's probably too much. So I guess fit on screen works. But then on this window, I can zoom out and then just like look at her leg, and
and it'll update
so there she is. So I'm gonna do something that's more obvious. So like these cone things here, right?
Okay.
So like maybe I can just come in here and I'll use the actual Remove tool for that. So Remove tool, hopefully it works a little faster. So here we go. It should just work like really, really fast because we're not using generative AI, but there you go. See, there you go. But see how it updated immediately on the other side? So then I can do that again on this side, and then keep an eye on it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Please do it fast. And there you go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it. Okay, great. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely one of those people, like in our product photography, I'm like so zoomed in sometimes on like little details, and then it is annoying to have to like keep going back. So that's a great tip. Love
And
that.
here's another keyboard shortcut. If I want to pan both windows at the same time, you can hold the space bar and shift. So they both windows pan, like now we have those people there and all that other stuff. And of course I can continue just making, these adjustments. And the great thing about this is look how good this tool is.
So
We're not
good.
using generative AI.
And it's so good.
So like right now it's
Yeah.
actually working the way it should. It just does it really, really fast.
Yeah.
Because with generative AI, as good as it is, it's got 2 drawbacks in my opinion. Number one is you have to upload the image to the cloud. It's got to do some processing. It's going to come back. That's going to take some time. Even if it's not a long time, it's 30 seconds, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
have noticed too that with the remove tool, and this is something to like keep in mind, is if anywhere on your image there's like the pixels, like the transparent pixels, it'll take so much longer to like do that.
If there's a little bit of transparency.
Yes. Yeah. So figuring out, like, it drove me crazy when I couldn't figure out why. I was like, why is it being so slow? And it was because I accidentally cropped and there was a sliver of transparent pixels. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you kind of have to kind of know, like, all right, I know that if I want to do this with this tool, it's going to be slow, or you make your own decisions.
Right.
But this is why this tool is great now, because now you can switch it to use generative AI and then potentially get better results.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the other new things in this tool? By the way, just because we were having that issue, I completely slipped my mind. But usually the right workflow is to create a new layer and then leave sample all layers checked, and then you make your adjustments on there,
Sure.
so that you're work non-destructively, and then
That makes sense.
you could remove that.
Yeah.
So. I'm just gonna close this window. Notice that when I close, it's not gonna ask me to save because the document's still open. It was just open in another window. So there it is. So that's how the tool used to work. Now it has that extra added benefit, as I just mentioned, of always using generative AI or let the tool choose. Oh, I forgot to mention the other downside. The other downside of generative AI is that you use up your generative credits.
Right.
So you have a certain number of credits. When you run out, it still works. It just doesn't work as fast. So you're you're throttled a little bit. Yeah. So for those two reasons, sometimes you may want to consider not using generative AI if a tool like the remove tool could just remove people.
Could just do it pretty well.
Exactly. So what I'm going to talk about now is in the Photoshop beta. So you can go download the Photoshop beta now and try this if you want. And it's got this option here called Find Distractions. And there's 2. There's one-click removals, like wires and cables. So I'm going to click on wires and cables, and it's going to find... Because of the layer, Wait, no, but I have sample all layers selected. Let me try that again. It should work. Let me try that again.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's going to try to find all the wires and cables in the image and remove them for me. And all I have to do is wait. Come on, Photoshop.
You got this.
You got it. I don't know about you, but like when you're teaching and presenting, there's nothing worse than watching this thing not move. Like it's stuck.
I know. I remember that was like whenever we did when Gen Fill was just beginning, and you had to like wait there. Let's see what happens. So, like you're just
crossing your fingers, like please
crossing
work.
your fingers. It's gonna work.
Yeah. Or like right now that it's done, and I'm like, where is it?
Yeah, but like where?
Yeah.
I know. It always happens that way, but it is what it is. Also, your part.
Yeah. So
my computer does the same exact thing. It is like immediate fan. Immediate, try to cool down. Wow.
But there you go. It took a little long, but
good.
See that? Super.
That is incredible.
Super fast.
Wait, go in there. Zoom in there real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
I can see like a little boo-boo here.
Yeah, there's little things,
but you could easily fix that. You might want to go old school, to be honest. Like, for example, here, I probably would just select this corner with the
stamp.
Clone stamp tool, which is going to make a copy and kind of figure out where the corner would be here, and then paint that back in. But I need to sample all layers. So sample all layers and kind of figure out where the corner would be more or less. And then that'll give you like a better, more accurate result.
Yeah. But that's good though. I mean, When you just need to do something like that, and it, maybe it's going somewhere where nobody's like zooming in, like I feel like that does a pretty
for like a
incredible
social media
job.
graphic.
Yeah, for social media, easy.
It'll be a piece of
So
cake.
easy.
The other new thing in this tool is right here, right under it. So notice that this is a one-click removal. In other words, Photoshop just took care of it for you and didn't ask you anything. With people, because you can find distractions. So if you notice a guy standing here, there's people walking here in the background, and then obviously the main subject. When you click on people, Photoshop will select, not remove, select the distractions it finds. Notice that it's smart enough to know that she is the main subject.
Right.
But there's, I accidentally clicked away on the tool to zoom in. I'll do that again. So I'll go to people. I wish Photoshop would just remember because nothing changed, right? So it made a selection around this man here and then the people walking here.
That's so good.
If you wanted to, then you can continue adjusting this by, you have your brush size here and, adding or clicking here to subtract. You could also hold the Alt key and then, there. I can hold the Alt key if I'm in the plus and then just remove things and, whatever you want to do. But it's fine if, like in this case, what I would do is I would just literally just hit the Enter key just to make the changes, and it will remove those people from the photo just by either using, it's probably going to use generative AI for this. Yeah, and there it is.
There we go.
Fantastic. Wow. The other thing is, like in this case, the remove tool, it may potentially do a good job if I just, painted this away and then start painting on the cars. But at this point, if I'm going to do that, I might as well go into the new selection brush and make my brushes larger. By the way, I'm old school. I use the bracket keys to adjust my brush size.
Same.
Yeah.
I do that too. Yeah. It's like so intuitive at this way, just like.
Exactly. Bracket keys are to the right of the letter P in North American
anything
keyboards.
Else? What are the other things?
Kids,
what are the other ways?
You know
kids.
you hold
No.
What
is that?
The shift and
Alt
and
that's
you
so
hold the
weird.
Alt key and you go left and right. See that?
But clicking is so much better.
That's what I think.
So much more fun.
So this is how you know that
we're old
in
school.
in my latter years of my life that I use the bracket keys.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it doesn't matter.
To each their own.
Whatever. Yeah. So then you can just paint over that, and you know what? Let's get rid of these cars. Why not?
Yeah.
And I don't know, this is also kind of silly, so I'll just paint that away, right? And I can just click on generative fill, click on generate, and this is the method that you were doing in your stream earlier.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So, there's no one way of doing things, but this is just how the perfect example of how combining remove tool, generative fill, and clone stamp tool. And and in this case, I'm not so happy with that result, so I'll see the other ones. You know what happened here? I probably
missed
I missed the little
some selections or something. But
again,
that's an easy fix.
That's a super easy fix. You're right. Yeah. So at this point, I'm just going to rasterize the layer, and then so many things. Probably spot healing is the easiest.
Yeah.
Boom. There we go. Oh, and then there's some. Oh, you know what happened is the this thing.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
just merge all those, and then boom, gone.
Boom, gone.
And then maybe
boom,
this one too.
gone.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
it always works.
I love it.
But there you go. So that's the remove tool. It came out at the Adobe MAX conference last year, and it has some new improvements now.
I love it.
Erases my mature years. Yes.
I feel like right now I love to go into the remove tool because it does a really good job of still keeping texture.
Yes.
Genfill still has some way to go,
Yes.
as far as quality and all of that. But I feel like remove tool has been game changing for sure.
Absolutely. One thing I didn't mention about the remove tool is you can click and drag and do like a circle, and then when you complete the circle, it fills it in, and then you can remove whatever it is you're trying to remove. I don't know if it's going to remove that.
I think it will.
Let's see. There you
It's
go.
gonna do a
Look
good
at
job.
that.
Yeah. See?
Fantastic job.
good.
So good. Yep. So there
Love
you go.
it.
Remove tool.
That
One
is
of the
so
new
great.
things in Photoshop 2024. I don't even know what year we're in. 2024, right?
What year are we in? Yeah, 24. I
Yeah.
can't believe it. I'm just like, wow.
All right. So another new feature at last year's Adobe MAX or Photoshop was back with the camera raw filter. So let me show you this technique.
Okay.
Or how it works, and then I'll show you a technique. So filter,
Cool.
camera raw filter, and they added this option right here, lens blur. You click and you apply a lens blur, which is fantastic. This is actually
It's
my
like
favorite.
kind of cool.
My favorite way to blur images or to blur backgrounds,
Yeah.
because it allows you to add realistic look in
So
bokeh
good.
with these options,
That is awesome.
whichever one you prefer. I like the bubble one the best. Do you have a favorite?
You know, I don't, and I think because like I haven't been shooting like people as often. I'm just like kind of in products. So most of the time we actually like blur is not what we want. Like we want everything to be crisp and like everything in focus. And so a lot of the times I'm focus stacking and making sure that everything's good. But I have played around with it, and I just think it's like brilliant. It's like, and I like the visualized depth, like how it shows
Yes.
like, okay, where everything is, and you can decide where.
Yep.
It's so cool.
So what's happening here is this is a synthetic depth map. It's trying to, AI is trying to figure out the depth in this image. It knows that the woman running here is the main subject, and everything behind her is getting progressively blurrier, trying to mimic the shallow depth of field that you would get if you actually shot it with a camera.
Right.
As you were saying, you can use the slider to adjust the focus range. So basically, whatever's in white when you drag is what's in focus. When you release, is whatever is warm is in focus, and the cooler elements are out of focus.
Right.
You can also click on this icon and then just click on the image to, whoops, why isn't it working? I'm going to disable the visualize depth. And I'm just, there you go.
There we go. Wow.
So
that
then
is so good.
I can click on anywhere in the image. So maybe this little barrier here, that can be in focus. She's out of
There you
focus, the
go,
background's
yeah.
in focus, whatever you want,
That's
right?
incredible.
You can click on this icon and it focuses on her. And then we have these refinement tools where you can, paint in sharpness somewhere if we want, or we can paint in focus. To be quite honest, I never use it. And let me show you why.
Yeah.
Let's just assume that this is the perfect
Okay.
blur, right?
Right.
And we'll just press OK. Well, it applies the blur on here, and sure, I could have made it a smart object and it would apply
Sure.
it to the smart object. Sure, let's forget about that for a moment. But then, we come back later and we realize, oh my God, like we missed that piece right there, right? Like, what do we do? Are we gonna start, cloning and doing all this stuff to
Like all this work.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. Also, what if the client comes back and says, it's a great photo, but we wanted the copy on the left, and she needs to be like running out of frame, and
yes.
something like that. So then there's a lot of destructive work that went on here,
Sure.
and not a lot of flexibility. So how can we keep the flexibility but also take advantage of the tool? So what I like to do is I like to separate everything so that I have the flexibility to move things around, to mask, and when I mask something, I see the blurriness. So what do? Control J to duplicate the image. With this first one, I'm just going to unlock the. By the way, do you guys remember when you had to do? You had to hold Alt and then click on the lock to remove it, which to me was insane. Eventually, they just made it
so that
you
you
click.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
I must have
Remember,
done
I used
that.
the bracket keys to.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, so what do? There's this select subject feature that allows you to select a subject, right?
So good.
Also, I have another. I'll mention this later, but I have another suggestion for Adobe if you're listening. So again, I'm old school, so I like to press the Q key to go into the quick mask mode.
Oh yes.
Before I show you the tip and the trick, I want to show you the way most people do it and why personally I don't think is the most effective way, but you're free to do it if you like.
I want to know.
So what I want to do, the goal is that I want to create some separation between the selection and the main subject, because you can see here how I'm actually it's not a perfect selection. So there's going to be pixels of her shirt and her body outside of my selection. I don't want that. I want to make sure that I have some space to make sure that I get everything, right?
Yeah.
So most people will do something like go into select, I don't even know how to do it just because I never do it, modify and expand, right? And then, you might add something like 5 pixels, right?
Okay.
But what does 5 pixels look like? Like how thick is that? In the context of this image.
I mean, that's pretty. I feel like it will go out a little bit.
All
right?
Well, I don't know, but that's the thing. We don't know, right? So we have to press OK, and you're like, okay, that works, right? Maybe, but you know what? Maybe I wanted more. Maybe I wanted less, right?
Sure.
So, let me give you another example. Let's say that we know that we wanted to expand. I just was there and I just lost
Modify.
it again. Select, modify. Why am I? Oh, modify. There we go. And expand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah. And what if we were like, you know what? 5 is too much, but 4 is not that much. What about 4.5? Oh, I can't do that because this thing only accepts whole numbers. Yep. So now I'm screwed, right? And so those are two issues for me, that I don't have that precision and
Sure.
I can't visually see what 5 pixels are, because
Sure.
what if this was a giant photo where 5 pixels was not noticeable, or what if it was a tiny
That's
little
true.
photo
That's
and 5
true.
pixels was most of it, right?
Yeah.
So you can't see. So what I like to tell people is, if you want to solve those two problems, press the Q key to enter the quick mask mode. Then you go into the filter menu, other, and choose maximum. Maximum expands, minimum contracts. So
Okay.
maximum expand, and look at that. If I put in 5, I know exactly what 5 pixels looks like. I know what
see.
15 pixels looks like. I know, what 1 pixel looks like, right? So then now, or I can just use the slider and get like a really good,
Yeah.
determination of what I need. We'll say 10 pixels just for the sake
Sure,
of
sure.
argument. But we have this option here called roundness. So what if I want 9.2 pixels? I can do that. So I can.
Yeah.
So I have those two options
So
that I didn't have
fascinating.
available before. Then I can press OK.
Okay. This is so interesting, because I do not do the things this way.
Then I can press the Q key and I have my selection.
Yeah.
And see that?
Okay.
I'm gonna just save this just so I can come back to it. The way that I save selections the old school way, which is just creating a
channel?
A channel.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
But if you're
I like to save a selection.
yeah. If you can go into the select menu and choose
Save selection,
save
yeah.
selection, right down here, and then I'll just
Yeah,
call this
model.
like 2 or whatever.
Oh, sure.
And then it's right here, same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, it doesn't matter, however you want to do it.
Well, my question is, why would you need that extra space around the model? Like,
Why?
yeah.
Yeah.
For you, like, why?
You'll see in a moment.
Okay.
I'm gonna just do a little. I'm gonna stop and I'll come back and answer your question.
Yes.
Remind me if I forget.
Yes.
But I wanted to say one thing. So this is what I wanted Adobe to know.
Yes. Like, let's make this loud and clear.
So I'll go do the same thing. Select subject, right? Mm-hmm. And if you switch over into the selection brush, and you create that essentially a quick mask, right?
Yeah.
And you can do everything you can with the quick mask, but unfortunately, if you go into that maximum filter, it doesn't do it.
Oh.
So
yes.
so I wish that you could do what I just did with the selection brush, because I love the selection brush. Anyway, so your question, why? I'm gonna load that as a selection. By the way, another tip. So
All the tips with Jesus right now, you guys. If you're just joining on Adobe Live, we're here with Jesus. He is just showing us all of the things that have been released since last year's Max and how they've improved, through the year. And yeah, it's just really fun. I feel like I'm always like learning. I feel like on stream, which is great. So yes, continue on.
So we saved the selection earlier, right?
Yes.
The first one I saved. The way to bring up the first selection that you save as loaded again, Control-Alt-6, and it just loads it. Why Control-Alt-6? You go into the channels panel, look at this, Control is
Okay.
right there. That's what
Yep.
those shortcuts mean. The one that we made from saving it as you suggested, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
But Control-Alt-7,
Seven.
it loads it. So if you memorize...
So you have to do the Alt.
or
in
Command
there.
Option on the Mac.
Oh yes.
Command
yes.
Option on the
Command
Mac.
option.
And it just loads the selection.
So smart.
Yeah,
Love that.
so if I create another one, that will be Control-8,
Love it.
And by the way, if you wanted to load the luminosity of your image, Control-Alt-2, Command Option 2, and it loads the brighter pixels of the image.
Oh my goodness.
Anywho.
Love it.
Yeah, so your question was, why do we expand it and not be at the edge, and why do we need that space? Well, I'm going to use generative fill, much like you did in your example in your stream. Leave that blank, click on generate, just to remove her.
I see
But
what
if
you're
if
doing.
like her
I see.
shirt was coming out, then it would get something else that's black
Right,
or red on her
Okay, I see where you're
thumbnail.
going, because the whole point is that you want to have more control
Oh,
over the
encounter an
blurring,
issue. Okay.
right? Like the blur and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's try that one more time.
Let's do it.
And come on, Photoshop.
It's like, no.
Yeah, let's see. But anyway, come on.
We got this. Woo!
You got it. And it's funny because, like, you know, this has worked a million times.
I
Obviously,
know,
and then
always.
when you're live, like, oh no.
I mean, I have
okay,
to-
see, like,
oh.
that is hilarious.
Oh.
This is one of the issues. This is one of the issues.
I am so shocked.
How about we?
Maybe it's because the selection is so specific. Like you almost have to do just a circle, like a blob
Right.
around. Oh, and the shadow. Actually,
That's
the
exactly
shadow.
right. I forgot the shadow.
The shadow is important,
I forgot
yes.
the shadow. That's exactly what happened. As soon as I saw the shadow. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is, whoopsie daisy. Let me just use for this. I could just use the.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah. So you're absolutely correct.
You guys have to let us know what's the weirdest thing that you've
Generated,
filled in
yeah.
in
Oh
the
my
chat.
God.
Let us know because I have run into some wild things.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
So this time it should get it, and everything else should be.
Yes, because now we've
Yeah.
included that shadow.
That shadow. Yeah, but you're right. I was trying to.
Just
you know-
replace human with a human.
Yeah, because the shadow's there, right?
Ray says, I'll need another brain to remember all the quick keys combinations.
But there you go. This is what
that's
should have
good.
happened,
Great,
right?
yeah.
So then I can put this into a smart object to work non-destructively. And
Okay.
this one on top, I can just do a remove background. It's fine.
Oh, sure.
So
Yes.
you're like, wait a minute, all that work without the shadow, I'll get to that in a moment. All this work to basically end up where you started. Well, yes, but now I have flexibility, right? So I can go with this layer, and I'll just call this one background or whatever. Go into filter, camera, raw, filter, and we can do exactly what we did before, but just to the background because we know the main subject will be in focus no matter what, right?
Yes.
So we can apply the blur. There it is, and then with this little icon, we can just click. You know, she's standing like right about here, so this is the area that should be in focus.
Right.
And I'm just gonna apply my
That bubble.
blur, and you know, just really jack it up, right, just so we can see it. Press OK. There it is. But when I bring her back, there she is.
Love it.
The problems that I mentioned earlier. Oh yeah, we made that mistake. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. This is the layer mask, right? So you can paint with black on a layer mask and just hides that.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, like no matter
You
how
can do
deep you
what
go,
you need-
you
yeah.
can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So then I can just, like, you know, like refine the edges and do everything that you cannot do inside of the camera raw filter, but I'm still getting all the benefits, right?
Yeah.
Also, like, hair is going to be an issue when you do this,
Right.
right? But now I have the flexibility to just come in and paint
bring it
things.
back.
Yeah, however, I could paint other strands, you know, do whatever I want. It really
That's super cool.
is
Love that.
up to you, right? And we can spend all day here, you know, fixing this.
Love it.
The other thing that's missing is the shadow. There's a couple things you can do. Like if you are not going to move her and she's just going to stay in that spot, and the only reason you did this was just so that you can get really clean edges, edges that you wouldn't be that clean in Camera Raw. By the way, before I continue, the reason that you can't get clean edges in Camera Raw, you're doing everything by hand.
Right.
But now that it's a layer mask, I can double click on it, and I can use the selected
yes,
mask
selected
here.
mask is my favorite.
Yep, and
That's my.
just so you guys
jam.
can see. So that's what the edges look like, but now I can smooth the edges, I
Yeah.
can, you know, contrast the edges, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and now I have better edges. So you will never be able to do that manually, right?
Yeah.
So if you're never going to move the subject and she's going to stay there, well, all you really got to do is just bring back the shadow, right? Paint with white on the layer mask, and boom, your shadow's back, right? And
Right.
things look great. If
But-
your client says, hey, we want her here now, then the shadow doesn't work, right?
Right.
So what do? You can disable a layer mask by holding the shift key and clicking on the layer mask, and that red X indicates that it's disabled. And you can use whatever tool you want, lasso tool, selection brush, doesn't matter. We'll go old school with lasso tool, and I'm just gonna lasso around that, like whoopsie daisy, I did a really bad selection. A lot of whoopsie daisies today.
look.
Yeah. Anyway, so there we go.
There we go.
There we go. I think that's actually, you know what, we'll be a little more precise. There we go.
There you go.
And what I'm gonna do now is just press with the focus, the white outline needs to be in the thumbnail. Control J, Command J on the Mac, and boom, there you go. That's our shadow.
Okay.
I'm gonna go into the channels and find the channel that's got the most contrast between the shadow and the ground. It looks like it's the red channel.
Yeah.
Duplicate that. Control I, Command I to invert because we want the shadow to be white.
Oh my goodness.
Image, curves. We don't have to do curves. You can do whatever. As long as the shadow stays white, it works. That's our shadow.
That's great.
Keyboard shortcut we talked about earlier. Control Alt 9, Command
Right.
Option 9. Boom. Loads it as a selection. Brings it back. we don't need that anymore. And I can just create a solid color fill, and whoops, it would have been better if I would have still had this on. And then when I create a solid fill.
Oh, then you can like.
Oh yeah, I could then click, but it's okay, it's fine. We can just click here now, doesn't matter, and then change this to like multiply, and then
Wow.
and of course we can continue playing with the color, right? Like
Right.
it doesn't have to be.
Because it was like more bluish, but like whatever,
we can do whatever we want at this point. So I'm gonna put
Wow,
this
that's good.
under her, enable this, and then click on the chain link icon. The chain link icon allows you to link two layers so they
Together.
both move together. That's right. When you only move one. So now she could be anywhere. Her shadow moves with her, and as you said, there was
love
like a little
that.
more purple or something in the
Like
shadow.
bluey,
whatever.
purple,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
We'll say
Oh, yeah,
that's
there you
good.
go. Yeah.
Something like that. And there you go. The shadow's always there.
Good
and
job.
perfect. So
Beautiful. New brain required. Oh, Jesus, you're giving us all the tips, all the fun things. I don't know how you have space for all this in your head, truly. Like,
that's why I can't remember anything.
you're like, my whole brain is Photoshop, and that's about it.
And that's about it. Yeah.
No, that's super cool. I love that. I mean, it's awesome that you have that flexibility to then like move things around, and I love that.
So
that's
it
great.
just keeps everything flexible. So that's the point. And if you just want to apply it to the image and that's fine, then that's fine too. It doesn't matter.
That's fine too.
Yeah, whatever works for you. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned like your memory. So 3 years ago, I had a stroke, and I was in the hospital for about a week, and I couldn't move my left side, and I was told I was told I was going to be disabled. Thankfully, none of that happened, but it is what it is.
I mean, bless.
Yeah. But when I was at the hospital, I started thinking, like, can I still do Photoshop? And in my head, I was like, all right, filter, okay, control whatever to do this. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I thought, wait a minute, how do I know I'm good if, like,
like you have nothing to compare to. Like you're just like it's coming from you, but you're like, how am I gonna?
What is the
make sure?
objective?
Yeah.
Like.
Oh my gosh! Well, thank goodness you are here, and you're healthy, and things are good, and you can share all this incredible information with us because truly so awesome. I can't wait. To be at your session. I know I'm signed up for one of them. I think it might be with Lisa.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Awesome.
I know I'm also streaming during the thing, so I actually have to remember what times. Like I have, so it'll be a good time.
I think you can answer the last question.
What's the banana icon? It's just a cool.
It just makes you look cool.
It just makes you look cool.
Yep.
Potassium.
Potassium. All right, so we have about 5 minutes. And,
yes, 5 minutes. You got
another
this.
thing that came out last year, obviously we've been talking about it, is generative fill.
Oh, so good.
Which is amazing, but there's a couple of ways I like using generative fill that a lot of people probably don't think about, and that's with retouching. I know, like in your session, you were showing how you remove like the corner of something. I forget what it was, like an awning or
it was just like a weird umbrella that just looked distracting. Yeah.
Absolutely. But another way that you could use generative fill to edit your images is, like, for example, people like me that their hair's all over the place.
Oh, yes.
Like this guy right here, right? Like,
yes.
His hair doesn't look very good. It's just a little messy. Fixing this in the past would have required some time.
Some time.
But now, all you need to do is just make a selection around. Oops. My mouse is just not working. I'm just going to go with a different tool just because I don't want to do I'm just going to do selection brush little by little. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, this is a great way. I have done the same thing too with like hair, just like wisps and things that are like, it just does such an incredible job. Very, very pleasantly surprised by how well it does that.
Yep, and thank you so much, Alessandra. I appreciate the comment.
Aww. Yeah, we're all glad.
And it improved it, but maybe not the way you intended. We'll see.
Well, that's why we've got the option. There we go. Oh, that one. That one's the good one.
So, I mean, look how fast that was. We really didn't spend a lot of time.
No.
One of the great things about it is that we kept that same, even though I don't like this, and I probably would fix that weird glow in his
the
forehead,
texture and
it
like the
still kept
softness,
it,
but
So it did a good job.
It did a good job.
So then at this point, we could focus on fixing other things.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not going to worry about that since we only have 3 more minutes, and I want to show one last thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is I personally don't like removing wrinkles, but a lot of the times clients are like, remove all those wrinkles, you know, and it is what it is. Personally, I think you should keep anything that's yours. If you have a pimple, of course, it's going to be gone in a week.
It'll be gone in a week or two, you know?
Yeah. But if it's something like a wrinkle, sure, reduce it, but definitely don't remove it. But
But sometimes.
So what I
clients
like to
want
do
that,
is if I was doing this for like my own taste and not somebody else telling me completely remove it, what I
Right.
would do is actually remove it to begin with. So that's what I'm doing. I'm removing it to begin with.
I see.
I'm only removing it so that I could then work, find a happy medium.
I see.
So find the best option. Let's see. Probably that option's the best option. Yeah, that's probably the best option. So what I like to do now is with this option is change the blending mode to lighten.
Okay, I was going to
And-
say, do you bring down the opacity a little bit just to kind of bring it back?
Yeah, so I'm going to do both. So what does lighten do? Lighten takes a look at the pixel on top and the pixel at the bottom, and it does this for every
is so
pixel in
smart.
your image, and it just keeps the brighter one. Why do I want to keep the brighter one? Well, look, now I have this
banana,
highlight.
just kidding.
Yeah, banana. Now I have a banana. So now I have the skin texture here. See that?
Yeah, but it's
See that?
it's still there.
It's still
just-
there,
but,
right?
like,
So then,
much-
as you suggested, just bring down the opacity.
Yeah, oh,
The
wow.
wrinkle is still there. The skin texture is still there. But it's just, see how
a little less pronounced.
yeah. So like if I really knew him, I wouldn't be like, wait a minute, they took away his wrinkles. Like
Yeah.
they're still there. They're just not they're not drawing so much attention to his face.
Yes.
So that's what I like to do. Personally, obviously some clients will say no,
Will be like, no,
completely
like,
remove
remove.
everything. And as I like to say, if you're signing the checks, I'll do it.
I get,
You
yeah,
know?
right?
As long as this check clears,
Yeah,
no
we're
wrinkles.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love this idea of like, especially working with the blending modes and the opacity. I think that's super smart. It's lighten, you said?
Lighten, yeah. The way I like
I'm
to,
going to keep that in mind because that's something that I also like. I have to work with like, you know, with product and models and stuff like that. And so
Yep.
sometimes, you know,
I can
certain
describe this in the 30
things.
seconds we have. So
Perfect.
another thing you can do is go into the spot healing brush tool and under mode, you either select darken or lighten. If the distraction you're trying to remove is lighter than the skin tone, choose darken. If the distraction is darker than the skin tone, choose lighten.
Okay.
So then in a new layer, sample all layers, and you can just, that was actually too much. I'm trying to reduce my brush size here, but you can just paint that away and see how it
Wow,
basically
okay,
does the
yeah.
same thing, right?
That's pretty awesome.
It does the same thing, and then you can just reduce the opacity
Yeah,
accordingly.
oh,
But notice that the
wow.
great thing is that the highlights, which is really what creates the texture in this
Yeah.
image at least, doesn't change. Only
That's
the,
incredible.
Only the darker
Oh,
area. So you're targeting
so much
you're
today.
targeting the problem.
Love that.
There we go.
Love that. There you go,
Just
you
in time.
guys. Jesús Ramirez, so thankful for you and just sharing all of your knowledge with us.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Anabella.
all for sticking around for this Max recap. And I hope to see you at Max hopefully in a few
we'll
days.
see you
So
on
we'll see you
Saturdays.
there. We'll
First
see you.
session's on Saturday. Be there.
Yay. All right. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
We are going to be doing some fall music festival poster design. We've got our poster inspiration here. I did pull out a color palette here. So I also started looking at different like festival names. I've kind of started laying out some information for the festival. This is like almost kind of giving me, it has a vibe. We've got some like interesting shapes already happening here. And so maybe I can echo this shape and kind of like in this sort of traditional, I don't know, music festival vibe. We've got the headliners at the top and a little bit larger, and then we've got the less headliners. They get a little smaller. We're just gonna we're just playing around. I'm gonna give this a background. You know what? I should also expand appearance because I have an effect on this. And so I'm gonna just expand appearance so that it outlines everything. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna just kind of make a rule that kind of keeps in line with these shapes.
Yeah.
October 16th through 18th. Create another rule here. We've got our good elements laid out, and now is probably a good time to take things over into Photoshop. And we're gonna kind of just start copying and pasting some elements in. I like pasting them in as smart objects so
Yeah.
that I have the ability to like edit them if I want to. So smart objects
Yeah.
are the best, especially when you paste it over from Illustrator. You can double click the vector smart object, and essentially what it does is it creates a new linked file that you can then go and edit. And so like if I wanted to change the color of this, for instance,
Yeah.
to like gray, and then I save it, it changes it in Photoshop. So
Amazing, yeah.
super useful, super great for like working between two different programs really quickly. And so what I just did is created a new Creative Cloud library for this branding system. And so what you do is if you select an object that's in a color, then you can take this little plus mark down here and click add fill color, and it will add those colors to your library.
Yeah.
So then if I go over into Photoshop now, but look at it's already in there, Fall Fest
Yep.
branding. So what I'm gonna also do is take some of these shapes and start adding them as a graphic too. Start placing them in here. Background color, check. Got elements in there, check. Now, let's pop on over to Adobe Stock.
Here we go.
I go over to the free, and I'm gonna go, let's do music festival. This is a really cool shot. Let's toss this one in here. In order to create a mask, put whatever shape you want to be the mask underneath whatever image you want to be masked. And so in this case, I've got my like black shape here. That is going to be the shape of the mask. And I've got my photograph on top of it. Hit Option, and then kind of like click the space in between the two layers. That's how you create the mask.
With a little like square and arrow.
Yep.
Is showing like this will clip to that.
Okay, so it's definitely coming together. I'm going to go into Camera Raw Filter, and we're gonna just like make some slight tweaks to this. Yeah, see like that like little bit of texture
Yeah.
is so helpful.
Yeah. Thanks
Yep.
for joining.
Thanks, y'all.
Hey everybody, we're back again. I'm Jesús Ramirez, and with me, Corey Hall. Once again, we started the show and we're ending the show.
Yep, we're just bookending the day with awesome live streams.
Awesome live stream. So what are we doing in this second segment?
Well, today we are going to be designing risograph postcards.
Wow, what is
Yeah.
a risograph postcard?
So risograph, and some people say risograph. I don't know. I've heard risograph, so I say risograph.
Mm-hmm.
But risograph printing is a special type of printing machine. It was invented in Japan, and I want to say the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially what it is it's similar to screen printing in the way that you print one color at a time on a sheet of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was created because for like very high volume print orders. And
Okay.
so it creates a lot of really cheap prints very fast. And so risograph printing was popularized in like 70s, 80s, into 90s, and then it started declining in popularity just as printing technology advanced. But it sort of regained popularity because it's a very cool method of printing. You
Okay.
can create really, really interesting effects with it based on how you layer the different colors of inks. And so, and it just kind of like gives a very sort of almost like organic texture and feel to whatever it is that you're printing. And so a lot of designers like it because it is, like I said, it's just sort of organic feeling. It's very graphic. It's never perfect. So there's a little like subtle nuances and details that lend this just like very, very cool texture to it. And so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be designing a risograph postcard in Illustrator, and then I'm going to be talking through how to create different like color separations because each color prints separately. And so layering things out, and then if we have time, we'll probably take it over into Photoshop and just like set the file up that way.
Fun.
If people are in the chat are interested in like the nuance of setting it up in Photoshop, it's like can be a little bit boring to do. So we'll just kind of see what we get up to today, but we can just go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
So again, this is my website, and I'm just gonna show some examples of cards that I've printed on risograph printers. So we're gonna be recreating this postcard here. And like I mentioned, the way that they work is that you print each color individually. And because you're running the same piece of paper through the printer multiple times, you get some of this like misregistration. And it's those like subtle imperfections that people tend to really like about risograph printing, and that's why they like to print them. And it's also just kind of the way that the colors print out is really interesting. And so red is a heavier color. People typically print red last because you risk it being smudging as it goes through the printer a second time. But it's all up to you, like how you decide to layer your prints.
So almost like Illustrator, Photoshop, layer ordering matters.
Yes, it very much matters. And for instance, like these are photographs that I printed on risograph printing. And so I want to say that it's cyan, yellow, magenta. I didn't print black. If I had printed black, it would have had higher contrast than this. But it's kind of amazing what you can get from those three colors, right? And so like you've still got the depth of the greens and of the oranges and stuff. And so, but based on which order I decided, and you can kind of see like at the bottom of this one, you can see that magenta layer kind of coming through.
Yeah.
And so it's that like sort of like misalignment that makes it really kind of interesting.
And was this printed with just a regular printer? Anything special?
No, risograph printers are, let's see, I like did this really quick little Instagram reel, and we don't need the sound for it, but there's a studio in Portland, it's called Outlet, and let's see, okay, 1980 I said instead of 1970, but can I like pause this? Yeah, so this is the printer, these are the drums of ink.
Got it.
And so you have to like manually replace each drum of ink and pump it through, pump the same pieces of paper through every single time in order to get the effect. And so, yes, so Axel, it is, it's very similar. It gives a kind of, I mean, it is overprinting because you're printing over things. And yeah, Brad said light to dark is the best way to pick the order. And like typically, like I said, red is like, at least at the studio I use, red is a very saturated, like heavy color. And so like that's the one that's most prone to smudging. And so anyway, it's just like a really fun way to kind of like see your designs come to life. I oftentimes design like, I design things and on the computer I don't love them, and then when I see them come to life like from the printer, I'm like, wait, I actually love this. And so like that's how this thank you card turned out, is like I did it really fast because I had an appointment the next day and I was just like, I need to create something new to print. And I was like, whatever, I did it in the middle of the night and putting my phone on do not disturb. There we go. And as soon as we started printing it, I was like, wait, I'm actually obsessed with this. So this,
How do you like it now that you see the photo?
I mean, I like the photograph. I wish I had actually brought some with me to like show.
Right.
But I like it better in the photograph than I liked the digital design.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I feel like it sounds like you can probably relate a little bit of.
Yeah.
So this one will be interesting to see the process of, because there are so many different colors here. So we've got the orange, we've got the dark blue. I think this studio, the ink color is called Federal Blue. The orange is like sunflower. The pink is salmon, and then a light blue, and then all these like little illustrations around the edges.
On something like this, was the misalignment intentional, or was it just like it came out that way?
It came out that way.
Okay.
And so what's really interesting is, and I don't have like multiple pictures of this one, but on some of them, they came out perfectly aligned. And it's usually on the first one that it comes out, first view that comes out perfectly aligned, because we can really adjust. And like when we're printing, we're like pressing the up or down button to like get it really aligned, and we'll do test prints. But over time, the printer just kind of like jiggles. And then eventually, like, you know, 100 prints later, it's then coming out misaligned. And this one is sort of a middle ground. Like the last ones of this batch came out really pretty misaligned, almost to a point where I was like, okay, that's too much.
Right.
But in this case, like this is kind of perfect to me because it really captures the like
Super cool.
the essence of it. Let's see, I'm looking at what people are saying.
Yeah.
One quick tip.
Brad. Yeah.
Separate by layers and then turn on multiply as a layers blending mode.
So you can see what an overprint would look like. Yep.
And then creating the ampersand symbol. I'm not sure why we're talking about that. I don't remember saying anything about that. Like for instance, this one, this misalignment was on purpose. So like I purposefully wanted them to be off, and like in order to get this much, I would have really had to kind of like mess with the printer. So, anyways, it's just this congratulations one is my least favorite. I don't like that, and I want to get rid of it. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go over into Illustrator, and I already have a size set up here, but the printers have like different printing sizes, right? And so like the printers that I print on can print up to a tabloid size, I believe. But we'll be printing these on letter size pieces of paper, which means I need, if my postcard's gonna be 4.25 inches by 5.5 inches, so it'll be 4 postcards to each 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper. And I'm just gonna start designing this.
All right.
I just want to sit in the sun and eat fruit with my friends.
Sounds fun.
That's literally all I ever want to do. Especially now that we're going into winter.
What is your favorite food? Fruit, excuse me.
I really like plums.
Plums. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The unexpected answer. But
watermelon for me.
Watermelon
is that a
is
fruit? I guess.
so good. Yeah, it's plums. I don't know. Maybe it's nostalgic because we had a plum tree going up in the backyard. I mean, just like really like lemons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I actually really like the rag of this, so I'm going to kind of get that locked in with, yes, okay.
Nice.
This is one of my favorite typefaces too for like fun designs. It's called Gopher.
Gopher, okay. Is that on Adobe fonts?
It is, I believe. Let's just check. And I bet I'm gonna be signed out because for some reason it always signs me out. No, yes,
there
I'm
you
signed
are.
in. Okay. Yes.
Yep, there we go.
Okay.
Gopher. So make sure you upload it now.
Yeah.
Or download it, I mean. From,
Check out Gopher. And I feel like this designer has some really, really fun ones.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know. I really kind of only like Gopher so far. This one's kind of nice. It's like looking like New Spirit, which is that like really popular one right now. But there's just like a lot of really, really fun kind of like quirky fonts on Adobe fonts. And so I go there a lot to find Riso printing ones. Oh, thanks, Wade, for popping that into the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Wade.
Some people are talking about coffee in the chat, which I'm like, sounds really good.
Yeah. Let me see if we can put it in order while we're here.
Normally I would spend a lot of time adjusting like the kerning between characters and stuff. But in this case, what I like about Riso is that it is kind of so organic. And so I'm not going to get too finicky with the details. But I am going to, this might actually take a little too long, but I just outlined all of the type. And I'm going to ungroup it so that we have each letter. And sometimes what I like to do is kind of go in and just like start rounding things out a little bit. It like helps to keep things feeling really nice and soft, and like really kind of helps with the organic quality of the print. Because despite the fact that there are some like, there's a lot of like imprecision with Riso printing, or at least it's harder to get like details really solid. It does print really crisply most of the time. And so if you want it to have like that super organic feel, you kind of do need to go in and make some small adjustments.
Wow.
But it's these like fun little, when I'm by myself designing, not on a live stream, I'm like, I'll sit here forever and just like I would probably go in and just adjust these little corners and make it so that they're not quite so close and stuff like that. But in the spirit of time, we're gonna do it a little speed. Oh, see, that doesn't really work. So I'm just gonna take these two. Do you ever do any graphic design, or are you mostly?
I used to, not in many years.
Yeah, you mentioned like brand, or you did like logo design.
Yeah. Like I started doing a lot of graphic logo stuff, but very quickly shifted to doing more compositing type stuff.
Yeah, I don't like logo design either. It's like not fun for me.
It's very subjective, and I think that maybe I just had bad ideas, but nobody ever liked what I did, so I was like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, I find that you kind of like have to have a knack for logo design to really either like be super good at it or to like it. I've like made some pretty logos and I've made some really ugly logos.
Yeah.
And it's just such a specific type of designing.
Yeah. Something that happened to me was that I would, I don't know, I was designing a logo that needed to have, I don't know, a cat, let's just say, for example. And then I would try to go look for inspiration. I see something I really like, and then I couldn't get that out of my head, so everything looked like that, and then that would really upset me because I'm like, I need to come up with something completely different.
Yep. It's really hard for me to be like super divergent when I am designing logos. It's the same thing. Once I kind of get the idea in my head, I'm like, oh, well, this is it. But, like, I can't do any more. Then I don't have any other ideas. Okay. So we've got it like nice and rounded. It gives it just...
You did it really quickly, by the way. So many characters, and you just...
speedy. I'm like... apply the round corners in the appearance palette. Okay. See, Brad. People have told me to do that before. Just want to sit in the... These are the little hacks that I forget about and don't remember how to do. But let's see if we could try what you're talking about, Brad, and maybe you should be up here doing... Come do Adobe Live with us. Effects, I'm guessing if we were to go to... No, it wouldn't be a Photoshop effect. Tell me where to find it.
I wish I knew Illustrator. As good as I know Photoshop, I don't know where that is. On the appearance palette, so I'm guessing under window appearance, maybe?
Round corners in the appearance palette. Oh, no. Okay, well that's a really good tip, and I need to look into that. It's especially effects and like appearance effects that I'm like out of practice with, and I find myself in the old practices of like when I first learned.
You said stylized.
Wait. Do stylize round corners.
There it is.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh. Let's see. 0, 3. That looks horrible.
Is it still typed? Maybe we need to break it apart.
Well, but he said that if we leave it as type...
Oh, you're right. No, you're correct. Yeah, that's what he said.
7. Huh. It will take some finagling, so...
Sure.
2. Don't want to spend too long on it, but I do see what you're getting at. I mean, if I was to like spend a good amount of time on it, then you could probably get it right. And then you're right, then I could just like change what it says without having to go back and outline and all that stuff. And I think the reason that I really do like kind of playing with the shapes themselves as vectors is because I can have like so much control over some of these really subtle little nuances. And that's where I like find the most amount of fun too.
Sure.
Bloop. See, oh my god, I could sit here forever doing this. This is why on some of my design classes in college, I just like didn't do well because I would get so caught up in the details. Okay.
Did you do good in college in terms of grades and all that?
Yeah, I did get good grades, and that's just because I'm a teacher's pet. I don't know, I just like got along with my teachers. I like still talk to some of them.
Oh, cool.
I definitely was not like the best in my class. But I did really base. I did well.
Good.
Did better than I did in high school, that's for sure. Did you go to design school?
I had a degree in multimedia. I'm old school, man. So I graduated high school in 2000, and at that time, the university that I was going to offered a multimedia program, which is what I majored in, and it was essentially take a class of Photoshop, take a class of Illustrator, take a class of Micromedia Flash, and Dreamweaver and whatever else, and that was my degree basically.
That's like, I mean, super like multidisciplinary, so that's nice.
A lot of which actually that's the most useful thing, to be quite honest with you. Like today, if I look back at everything I learned, the most useful stuff was traditional art and drawing. Yeah, that's what helped out the most.
That's awesome. I am
Let us know in the chat if you guys went to design school or college for art, design, what you majored in, and if you're still doing that today.
Yeah. I know some designers who went to school and are now not doing design anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just kind of working on creating the outlines. We have the base layer, we've got an outline, and I'm also gonna start doing, start changing up the colors as well. So in my, Creative Cloud library, as I was preaching earlier, I have all of the colors that my Riso printing studio has, like in ink, so that I can really get a sense of like how it's gonna look when it gets printed out. And so I'm using those colors to start colorizing. And I'm just gonna kind of pick letters at random and just sort of see where we end up.
Wade said the mean streets of art and design, still doing it, can't stop, won't stop.
That is so true.
Yeah.
The mean streets indeed. It's a rough world out there for us designers sometimes. I'm gonna ungroup it.
Roy did mechanical engineering, nice.
Oh wow. That's very, wait, so what are you doing now?
Yeah, Roy.
Are you still a mechanical engineer? It's really interesting to hear how, okay, I don't like that both of these T's are. Let's do, it's interesting to hear how people like come to their professions, especially to design, because a lot of, and I think what's cool about graphic design in general is that a lot of it is, or a lot of designers that I know don't have a formal education or formal background in design. Like it's a pretty accessible trade. You can learn it just about anywhere and like on the internet.
Yeah, I always tell people you don't have to be formally educated, but you do have to be educated.
Yes.
You know,
whether or not you educate yourself or go to school or just like life experience.
Isis went to State University. They offer a major in fine art with a minor in computer art. Computer art was taken an Adobe Photoshop class and an Adobe Illustrator class plus 2 computer programming classes. Roy is doing web design now, it seems like.
Whoa. Okay.
So from mechanical engineering to web design. Wow.
I can see how there's might be some overlap there. Like web design does have some engineering elements to it, but I'm talking as someone who knows nothing about web design.
I actually did a lot of web design. I did more web design than I did logo design or any kind of design besides compositing, of course. But that was my bread and butter for a long time. And actually, I think Adobe Live still says, like on my bio, if I'm not mistaken, I'll check the YouTube recording of this, but I think they still put like web designer or developer or something like that.
Oh, no way. I don't even know what my bio says on Adobe Live. It was I probably gave it to them like 3 years ago.
With Arabella, we were discussing our first Adobe Lives, and I showed in my stream, I showed the first photo of my first Adobe live stream, and I think it was 2016.
Okay.
And things were different back then.
Well, yeah, that was when everyone was coming into the office to stream, right?
Yeah. Well, not even this office, the one at on the other building.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Very different. Okay, so what I want to do too is I want to design this as close to how I want it to print as possible, and then eventually we'll make the sort of like changes for Riso printing, but we're gonna do, because I do typically like to print on kind of like an off-white, warmer tone. Yeah, that's nice. Kind of want it to feel like nice and sunny. And then I'm going to add some illustrations. So one of my favorite things to do is it's kind of like search around for like either stock illustrations or illustrations in like different libraries. Alessandra says Cody. Also, my name is Corey Alessandra, not Cody.
No, I think they were talking about Cody Bear. Or maybe
okay.
I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know
Well,
either.
Yeah. So is it I'm like looking at your name and see like, wait, yeah, I guess it could be.
Alessandra,
Yeah,
you
let
should
us
know
know.
my name by now. You're always in my chat.
Yeah, are we talking about Corey or Cody Bear? I don't know. I read it as Cody. I didn't even think
That
about
would make sense, though.
Yeah.
I was like, I hadn't seen Cody's name in there for a while,
Yeah.
so that's why I didn't think about it.
So let us know. Who are you referring to? 'Cause-
Who are you referring to?
Yeah, because Cody Bear is with an I. So,
So I found these illustrations from a designer that
Fun.
I follow on Instagram. His name is James Junk on Instagram, but he made all of these like really cute. They're getting kind of cut off in the SVG previews, but he made these like very cute little illustrations, which are what I used. Which are what I used in my original postcard, and they're just like really sweet. They kind of capture that like nice essence of summer. They also are kind of they're very like hand-drawn feeling, but not, they're a little bit rougher than the type, which is why I think that they pair really nicely.
so they were referring about you, Corey.
Oh,
Yep, you're correct.
Alessandra. Alessandra, okay, get it right. Thanks for always joining into my Thanks for always joining in, Alessandra. Cody Bear would also would qualify for sure. Cody Bear would qualify.
Absolutely.
Oops, where did my son's little?
There you go.
I lost my. Oh,
Happy little son. Isis says they are adorable. Yes, they are.
yeah, they're very cute. Here, I even think that, I don't know why they're not grouped though. I even think they might still be on his website. Let me check. Just a little shout out
For fun, yeah.
James Junk.
James Junk.
He is
I always said the only graphic designer in Los Angeles. I love it.
very accurate. Historically, there are no graphic designers in Los Angeles. But he does, like, he makes these different, like, assets. He usually gives them away for free. Like this typeface is one that he made that I haven't had the chance to use before, but you can kind of see its, like, similarity to the illustrations.
Yeah.
I don't know where his other... The two typefaces are down here, but maybe he got rid of his illustration pack. But it was cool because he was giving it away for free. He's like, use it wherever you want,
Cool.
however you want.
It's probably still there.
Yeah.
Alessandra says, sorry for the name confusion. English is her third language.
Okay. Humble brag. I'm like, third language. You can mess up whatever my name you want. I don't care. What other languages do you speak, Alessandra?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm like, I can barely speak one language. I would love to speak. Do you speak Spanish? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to speak another language. I've tried. It's so hard if you're not like around it all the time.
You'll be in Mexico for a month.
Yeah, and a couple of friends I'm going with speak Spanish, and one speaks Spanish and Italian, and so I'm just like, let's just practice our languages. Cute. See, this is like also giving me these colors I'm gonna need to change because they're all very fall-y. But ooh, martini glass.
Okay, it says Alessandra speaks Cape Verdean Creole, Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and Spanish.
Whoa.
And in English, I assume.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. We got Marcela. Hola desde Argentina. Argentina in the house.
Okay, what's up? I was supposed to go to Buenos Aires right before the pandemic started.
Oh, that was your pandemic canceled trip.
was.
Everybody's got one. Mine was
Yeah.
Portugal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Portugal 2 years ago. And it was
Oh, how was it?
amazing.
Really? Still
Yep.
haven't been.
Yeah, we went to Porto and Lisbon and a couple of other coastal towns. Yeah, I mean, highly recommend.
Awesome. Would love to go.
I want to go to Argentina really bad though, and I was supposed to go with my family friend who's my Spanish tutor in high school. She has a place there in Buenos Aires, and we were supposed to go. And now I'm like, okay, gotta make a trip.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we have people joining us. What time is it in? It's probably kind of close.
It's probably, yeah, because it's on, yeah.
It's like on the same.
It's like on the west coast, right? Or
It's
am
like-
or here, I'll have to look up before I say anything.
I feel like we're like similar longitudes.
Yeah,
or
that's what I feel like.
Latitudes. Which one's which? I can never remember.
Oh, wow, no, it can't be. It's 4:27 p.m. in Argentina. So it's,
Oh. It's not too far ahead.
Yeah.
That's like East Coast time?
Yes. Oh, I was confused. Chile is in the west because Argentina is south of Brazil and Uruguay. So it's, yeah, it's like East Coast. It's actually further east than most of the U.S.
Oh, it really
So here it is, and this is the U.S., and it's right here.
Huh.
Yeah.
We're looking at a world map, guys. And now we're doing a history
Yeah, oops.
lesson. Switching around. Okay. So our design is starting to emerge.
There it is.
Too on the nose if I make the bread gold? Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Let's do pink. I don't have any green in this design, so the tree's, I think, gonna be... Well, it's kind of gotta be dark blue, right, when it's right there. Got our little beverages. Yeah, cute.
Very, very lovely.
Sun, we're gonna make... Okay, that's balanced. Well, maybe we'll make the sun this color, and we'll make these. That kind of does some nice like visual balance between the three golden elements. Okay, so we've got the design pretty well down. Oh, I should probably do also the back of the postcard.
Mm-hmm. And I'll give you the 25-minute warning.
Okay. Just like that, time already flies. Okay. 4.25.
Oh my God, Alexander says she also understands Italian and learning French, so that'll be 5.
Holy moly. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really awesome. Do you travel a lot? Is that why you speak so many languages? Or do you have like a lot of international friends? Or just a passion of yours? Okay, so for the postcard, I think we're gonna just do very simple strokes. Round the ends of the stroke. We might do this.
Peter's joining the chat. Hey, Peter. Oh, she says, I took, oh God. And then Alessandra says she took Latin in high school. I love languages and learn fast.
That is so cool. I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
I feel like people are either kind of like really good or they're like me and just not. Okay. I think.
You know, it'd be interesting if she did learn Latin. I wonder if she ever dreamed in Latin.
You know, when I was really in the thick of learning Spanish, I had some dreams
Okay.
that had Spanish in them. And I do feel like in the dream I understood it, but as soon as I woke up, I was like, couldn't. Like,
Yeah.
not so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm adding a little stamp box.
Peter got kicked out of Spanish in high school. I'm sure that's an interesting story there.
What did you do to get kicked out? Career? Stamp.
Sandra says, I suck at sports and failed all of them, so I found out I'm good at arts and languages.
Yeah, I mean, that's like most of us designers. I mean, I was definitely not into sports.
I'm not a sports fan, but I've always been an athlete. I played soccer in college, and I was always very athletic as a younger person. Not so much anymore, but I was definitely an outlier with my designer friends in that context.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know some designers who went to school and like got like basketball
Mm-hmm.
or soccer scholarships. But
It's not the norm.
no. Okay, we've got our cute little stamp window. Let's make this line maybe, because we have the ability to print whatever colors we want on the back too.
Mm-hmm. And do you also just do one color in the back, or will you do the multiples?
No, it's kind of nice to like switch it up. Doesn't, since it all doesn't have to be the same, because we'll run it through for the front and for the back.
Okay.
If the drums are already in, then it's like a little bit easier. But the ink drums, that is. I might do these in a different color. Yeah, just so it's nice and colorful. What's interesting about reso printing is that you have to pay per ink color and per, there's like, every time you print with a new color, a new design, there's this new, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it like creates an impression on the drum that is then like printed with.
Okay.
And so that's like a sheet of paper that you also pay for. So every time you switch out the color, it's like, it is like an extra cost, which is why it's more cost effective to print in high volume because you're paying less per print than you would if you were printing like, I don't know, 5. It like wouldn't make
Like,
sense.
what can you expect to pay for, say, I don't know, 50 of these things, give or take?
It depends. I mean, like if I were to print 50 of these postcards, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. So that would be 4 different ink colors, 4 different like again, I can't remember the name of the like impression that it makes on the drum. And then you're paying for the paper. And you're paying for the time. And so I want to say, if I was to like really recall, it's probably like 20-ish dollars to print 50
20?
of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's still like pretty reasonable.
Yeah, so like, what are we talking about here? What, like 50 cents a pop, give or take?
Well, and if I'm getting 4 postcards out of each sheet of paper. So it's
Oh,
like
okay.
really,
Got it.
that's the other thing is it's like, in this case, it's 4 postcards to each sheet of paper. If I was doing like a double-sided or like a folded postcard or folded greeting card, then it would be 2 to each page. And so really
Okay.
I'm printing 50 copies, but I'm either getting, 200 or
Got
I'm
it.
getting...
Peter's asking, are they spot colors?
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're spot colors or not. I would imagine that it like might vary. But reso colors are like really specific and they like kind of have to be made in a specific way of like a specific like formula and density and stuff. And so what I'm gonna start doing now is I'm gonna start separating out the different colors. So I'm gonna duplicate both of these artboards. And I'm going to remove the backgrounds. And essentially what I need to do is just take every single, and actually if I lock this, then I can do, select that, and then I can select similar objects, and it just selected, I don't know why I actually didn't select that one because it's the same color.
It looks like Peter says if they're if you're charged per color, they could be spot colors or custom colors.
They're spot colors in that case. So I'm pulling out the sunflower. Gonna pull out the, whatever this one is, flow orange. This tool has become my best friend. I think I discovered it like 4 years ago, which is the like, when I'm on the direct select tool, I can then select the like select similar objects and it pulls everything else that's of that color. Flow orange, paste in place, hide that. Mint blue,
Mint blue.
which sounds really lovely.
Mm-hmm. Can even feel the mint.
Take those out. Paste that in place. Hide that. And then we're left with our federal blue,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. And we're gonna make a new layer for that. Okay, so we've got all of our colors. It's kind of even fun to just like see them all like that.
Yeah. Isis is saying kind of like screen printing, which is I think what you mentioned earlier.
Yep. Yeah, stencils. So that's what it's called when you like, when the ink drum is put in, it creates a stencil on like a really thin sheet of paper. And yeah, it's very similar to screen printing. And it, honestly, even if what I like might do in this case, just to give an idea of like the impression that we might get, is like offset it just a little bit. And like, that's generally like what it will look like. And obviously because I've printed these before, we know what it looks like. But this is like, as I'm designing this, I'm thinking about the kind of effect that I know that it's going to have, and I'm like keeping that effect in mind. So, bloop, just like that. Okay, I'm gonna relock these. Okay, and so what else is interesting is that with screen printing in particular, each layer that you print, it needs to be in black when you put it into the computer or when you put it into the printer. And then from there you can adjust like the density of the ink, which is essentially like the transparency that it'll print at. And so we're gonna go in and select our mint blue and make it black. And we're just gonna do the same thing here. The easiest way to do that would be
Okay.
Oh, you know what though? What would make the most sense is I'm gonna take my outline out and put it in. Because I want, well, actually, hold on, let me think about this. Federal blue. What did I do here? Text outlines.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you're missing.
Yes, I think I might have done the federal blue wrong.
Okay.
Because it should be, I'm just gonna go back and make a change. Okay, yeah, for some reason oh, you know what, is I made it all filled in with black, so that's why. Okay, mint blue, black, flow orange, black. I'm curious if anyone else in the chat, it sounds like at least a few people have done reso printing in the chat, but
Yeah. Lysandra has done screen printing, and Peter has done T-shirts for friends.
Okay.
Using screen printing, I'm guessing that's what he's referring to.
okay, we're gonna do start grabbing. We need to do these kind of separate.
It's been many years.
Screen printing is
Yeah.
really fun, but it's a lot of work and a lot of time.
Done it a couple times. I was not good at it. A lot of work and a lot of time. That's a very accurate description.
Yeah, I can really enjoy it, but man, oh man, it's just like, if you don't have the patience or if you don't have the time, then it's just becomes like a total time suck. Okay, so we've got all of our different separate layers. Now the way that I usually do this, and there's always so many ways to do this, but what I'm gonna do is we have our different artboards. I'm gonna export out each artboard. Let's do postcard. Let's title this artboard. And yeah, there's several different ways to do this, but I think I'll do it this way. Oops. We're gonna export this one artboard. Let's do a new folder, Reso postcards. Choose PNG Federal Blue. Like so. And
By the way, let us know in the chat if you have any questions about what Corey's doing here. People are talking about LED engraved stamping and screen printing.
I do really like engraved stamping too. It's just like there's so many kind of ways to print in real life, and it's been really cool to learn more about them, because then you can kind of like, I don't know, people have had to be so innovative with printing over the years and centuries, and there's like so many old-fashioned ways to do it. I mean, like even engraved printing is like kind of similar to printing like on some of the original letterpresses. It's just like putting the same thing, stamping it down over and over and over again. I have never really done letterpress printing before. Okay, and so our printer paper is letter sized. Doesn't really matter what color code we're going to use because it's all going to be printing black. So, and then I'm going to take all of my different files.
You ended up with 4, is that what it was?
4 different files, yes. And then actually what I do need to do, 4.25 by 5.5. And I'm essentially going to just do oh, this is a classic mistake that I make a lot. When doing reso printing, this is a bummer. I export for screens because that's the keyboard shortcut that I know really well. But I need to do export as because I need the like quality of an export as over. There we go. Artboards, artboard 4, I believe. Replace.
There we go.
Transparent, yeah, because I need the high PPI, and exporting for screens does not do that. Better, but not perfect. Let's try. File, export, export as. JPEGs are usually better.
Okay.
Oops, did I do the wrong one? Number 4.
And right now you're just trying to get them all into the different screens, or?
Yeah, so, well, what I'm doing now is setting up my file for printing. So, mint blue, JPEG, like that. So what we're doing is we're building out our print ready file. Here we go. And because it's a postcard that's printing on a letter size piece of paper, we're going to be printing each different color. And I'm just going to group them by their color. And so, like I said, because this runs through the printer for each different color, we essentially need to set up the print files in that same way with each different color laid out in black. So flow orange, export as, JPEG, high PPI. And let's just get rid of all of these old PNGs.
It's just that tedious part of the process, I guess.
It really is a little bit tedious. Flow orange. And it's really just kind of about like getting your files set up in that interesting sort of way.
Yeah.
So once you've kind of got them all set up in this way, then it's you export them all out as PDFs and then print each layer on top of each other. And then eventually that's how you get to this type of file. Or this type of print. So it's a really fun process. I think, like, obviously the most fun part is printing or creating the designs and then the actual printing part. We could probably start another one.
Give you the 5-minute warning.
Just a really, really quick 5-minute one. Because really we don't need to watch me do the same action over and over again. But if we were to go... duplicate the artboard, and just for like the sake of something like really quick and fun, start a new layer. Something that I like to play around with a lot is just the layering of colors. And so what I think would be fun is having like a bunch of different color blocks in varying shapes. This is like an idea that I've had for a little while that I've kind of wanted to execute on.
Perfect.
And creating almost like a layering effect of all the different colors. And I should actually make them maybe 60 per 70%, so we kind of begin to see how they're gonna all turn out. A little close there. And then I think a green. And I was thinking about this either as like a happy birthday card or maybe like a thank you card, because it's sort of like bold, playful, colorful. And then what I want to do, and the way that I'm hoping that this will turn out, is if I do a really big happy birthday.
I say. Yeah.
Let's do gopher again. And then we should be able to get a really interesting like offset effect. If we have a white text over this, then when you print each color, it should And maybe we actually make this horizontal.
Yeah. Definitely more legible.
And then that way when you print each color, you'll get this like really kind of interesting where like the red will overlap the blue, which will overlap the orange. And the green. I think that this could make for like a really interesting little risograph print.
Mm-hmm. That's right, Peter. It's a party.
It is a party. I'm like, I would go to this party. So yeah, that's just like a little bit of interesting information, hopefully interesting information on riso printing.
Yeah.
And it really is, it's like, I think the best and easiest way that I've learned how to set things up for riso is like, there's a ton of really great resources on YouTube, and most riso printing studios have information for you and like really detailed instructions on how to do it. But just a lot of trial and error, and I guess I would just encourage, if people are interested in graphic design and like printing their designs, riso is a really, really cool tool to kind of like push your knowledge of design and especially printing to have something that's like really kind of unique and special in a way that would be different than if you printed it out on like a laser printer or an inkjet printer. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for
Yeah.
having me. Alessandra.
She's leaving, but we're
She's
leaving too.
We're all leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Corey, thank you so much. It was good doing 2 streams with you today.
I know. Yeah.
It's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you so much for hosting.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
All right. See you guys.